Hello, and hey, welcome all to the 1v1 show. It's your boy, GOUE Flow, welcoming you to the place, all things niche, nerd, and pop culture. We got a dope show for you today. We're going to talk about everything that's new this week that happened in pop culture. Now, as always, let me introduce the man behind the boards, my co-host, Mikey, aka Hyphy Soul.
What's up, everyone? If you're new to the 1v1 show and what we do here, how we conduct the show is by starting off with 10 topics from the news this week regarding Sony's acquisition, Shovel Knight, and The Godfather. Each of those topics will have a timer of 5 minutes, with the last two topics just being a little longer, maybe 7 to 10 minutes. And after that, we'll be discussing our top 5, and for this week, it will be about space characters. Who are your favorite space characters? And we don't end there. Finishing off today's episode will be our 1v1 showdown, where Gio and our guest host will take sides on a debate. And the debate today is, wait, what the heck? Oh, it's Hollywood Unoriginal. We'll find out. And if you like what we do here, please give us a follow on our socials on Instagram, Twitter, and you can support us on Patreon, where we have 3 tiers. $3 will get you a roll credit at the end of the show. $5 will let you submit any topic that you want. And $10, you can sponsor us by plugging anything you want as long as it's appropriate. But the best way to support us is by participating in the chat. And big announcement. So, we're a video podcast, right? Yet we don't have an audio podcast out there. That is, until now. We are currently on Spotify and Stitcher. And we are currently working on iTunes and Google Music. So if you aren't able to catch us live on either Twitch or YouTube, you can find us there. Just know that the post-show won't make it to the audio portion, so be sure to tune in to the live broadcast for that. And as mentioned, as we have a last-minute guest replacement because our original guest is in the Hollywood industry, and turns out there are protocols in place for a Hollywood employee to appear on a podcast, and we didn't know that. But hopefully Hollywood will approve their appearance, and we'll hear from them eventually in the future episode. And for today's guest, you may remember them from last season, where they had a very interesting take on Eternals. It made me reconsider watching it with a different perspective because I wasn't so high on it. And it's not just one guest, but 2. Our first guest is into Marvel Comics, MCU movies, and is above average Star Wars nerd, and it is a Disney adult and proud, a sneakerhead, and a LEGO VIP member. And the other guest is an anime lover, a Nintendo nerd since the tender age of 5, and has the potential to become the best artist ever. Please welcome Josh and Jennifer.
Hello. And we are not famous, so we can talk all we want.
Yeah, not in the industry at all, but that'll do.
All right, so yeah, how was your guys' week?
Pretty mellow. Nothing crazy going on.
Yeah.
We're looking for a new apartment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about
Also,
you, Gio?
thanks for being willing to hop in last minute, because I was scrambling who can I They needed to find a new guest because we got, like I said, like things happened last minute, and Josh and Jen pretty much pulled us out of the fire at the last second. So once again, thank you for that.
Yeah, like we were scrambling.
No, thank
Like,
you so much
literally.
for having us on the show again. I mean, we had so much fun last time. So when I got the text that Gio had asked, I was like, yes, please respond, yes.
All right, and so
For
with
sure.
that, let's just get the show started with our first topic of the day. Gio, what is going on with Alice in Wonderland? It's a different story, it's not
Alice in
Disney.
Wonderland. Now this ain't the Disney version. All right, this ain't no Disney version, either the original, not the original, but the first animated one or the live action with Johnny Depp. This is much darker. This is American McGee's Alice, and after basically what 22 years ago now, when they threw the storybook adventure on its bloody head, American McGee's Alice is making the jump to the small screen. So this is according to the Hollywood Reporter. Radar Pictures has picked up the TV rights and hired David Hayter, who wrote adaptations for X-Men and Warrior Nun, to make an adaptation alongside Abandoned Entertainment yet. So they don't have a network or a streaming service to the project yet. But for me, one of the things that's very interesting about this is that, one, David Hayter, if you don't know who that is, that's the voice of Solid Snake. I never knew he was a writer. I always just assumed he was a voice actor, which is, it's pretty interesting to me. But also, if you've never seen American McGee's Alice, it is... So they tried to make a darker version of Alice in Wonderland, Disney did, with the live actions, and they were still pretty PG. This is very much all the way R with Alice. Like, if you see the images of the game, it's her holding a bloody knife. The Cheshire Cat looks like he's all bones. It's very much the dark, twisted, gory version of Alice in Wonderland. So I'm excited for it because I remember as a kid, and this is a memory that is like locked in my head. But I remember seeing the cover of this game when I was at Costco with my mom, because I don't know if you remember back when they had PC games, like people didn't download PC games from Steam. They had that big old table at Costco that had all the computer games, and I remember that game caught my eye, and just the image of the Cheshire Cat just looking all like skin and bones and just smiling at you just kind of left me like, it's like a 10-year-old. I was like, that's creepy. But yeah, have y'all heard of this adaptation? Have you seen these games before?
I have seen the games before, just because I think it kind of had a bit of a boom during the emo phase back in like 2000, 2004. So I would see pictures of it and people putting it on their MySpace page, but I've actually never played it.
Yeah, neither have I, but I think that it's interesting to see a different take like that, and it kind of being more gruesome and like darker. I think that is something that's pretty cool just to see it kind of evolve, because not everything like is fun when it's all bubbly and stuff like that. So I think that'd be really cool to see the take and like how it all comes together, with it being like a little bit more darker take on things.
I think also a lot of productions are putting out variations. I mean, even though this did come out previously, if you look at Disney, like you had mentioned with Alice in Wonderland, but then you also have the spin-off of Sleeping Beauty with Maleficent and things like that. So I'm really excited just to see what kind of take they will spin with this Alice.
Yeah, because I feel like Disney always tries to make like a darker take on they're not properties because they're mostly public domain, but the franchises that they have made movies off of. But it always seems like a half step. Like, it's a little creepy, it's a little darker, but like I appreciate that this is the chance for them, for someone to take the Alice in Wonderland story and just go full to the wall, R-rated throttle on it, because because there was a second game. And even though it was kind of mixed reviews, like people really liked the story and the atmosphere, but the gameplay was kind of But if you can take that atmosphere and story and adapt it to the small screen and not really have to worry about like the gameplay about it, I think this could be a big thing.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
there's a lot of big like dark themes that happen in this, and I think if I say any of them, it'll spoil some of the story. So I'm gonna keep
Mm.
quiet on that. But I'm excited for this because
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I realized it. I don't know if you guys ever watched the film Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but it just totally reminded me of that as well, just because there's a book, Pride and Prejudice, and then it's just totally a romance, witty novel, but then they threw in zombies and it just totally upped the ante and made it more gory and fun. So I don't know. I think it can be something that has a lot of good potential to it.
Yeah, I think Gio made a good point with that. Disney will do stuff, but they kind of toe the line of not going too dark, and I think it'd be really cool to really see them kind of, like you said, just go all out and like just go for it, you know?
But I was gonna say I have heard of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and I did not watch it because I actually really hate that book.
No,
It's
that's my favorite book.
I'm sorry, Jen, but I do not
We
like
watch
Jane
that
Austen.
It's okay.
movie at least like once a month.
It's okay. I remember I kind of shat on Bunny Girl Senpai, and so that
Wait,
the roles have reversed.
did you watch it, or did you just assume things about it and not?
I watched a couple episodes. I just did not. I couldn't get over. If it gets better later on, I just.
Hold
It got to a point where she got up and she was like, "You go ahead and finish."
Hold on.
Hold on.
Please hold. You do not disrespect Bunny Girl Senpai in this house.
I'm sorry.
We will not have any slander of my Sakurajima. She is the goddess. This is the Church of Bunny Girl Senpai. I will not have no heresy in this house.
Technically, they're in their own house.
Shut up, you. God. What do you mean? What do you mean? What was bad about it?
It just maybe it just didn't grab my attention. I think it appeals to a certain audience at the beginning, and I just was not that audience.
I was.
He definitely was.
I'm looking at the comments. Gio immediately regretting this decision. All right. You know what? We'll a certain audience. Yeah, what kind of audience is that? Let's move on before I start to scream. And speaking of scream,
yes.
what's going on with Scream?
So they are coming out with a new Scream. And where can the series go, especially with the passing of Wes Craven? There are two new directors set up to create the film, or who have created the film. We have Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, and they're pretty much owing any success of the film to the late director, saying anything that they did right is all thanks to him. It was a huge box office hit. Came out with, I believe, 100 million at the box office.
But what? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. It was a huge box office hit. It came out with about 100 million at the box office last week.
Yeah, it actually dethroned Spider-Man.
Yeah, but Spider-Man's been out for a minute, so.
I mean, still, that was a big movie.
I mean, eventually.
Yes. Anyways.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about this. I think that, for me, when watching these types of movies that just involve suspense, you really want it to keep you on the edge of your seat. And I think that, for me, these kind of movies could either they could be done really well, where I'm engaged and I'm really kind of what's gonna happen next, or it gets really corny and I'm kind of are we, is this really what this movie's about? So I think that if they do it right and they keep going the way that they're going and just build up the suspense that they have in other versions of the movie, I think they could keep going and they'll do well.
I think for me, right, if you look at horror genres in general, the thing is this would be the sixth Scream movie. Like by most what's the word I'm looking for? By most horror series, once you start getting into the multiple spin-offs, you start getting fatigue, you start seeing less returns on the story, and maybe, or even on the quality, right? We look at things like, let's say, Paranormal Activity. The first one, you know, was like, people like loved it. It was a phenomenon. People like were like, yo, this movie looks sick. It's dope. It's something different. You get to the second one, and I would say people still kind of enjoyed it, and it still was a hit, but people were like, well, it's not as good as the first one. And then you start getting into the third one, the fourth one, the spin-off, and then by then people just get bored. Same
Yeah.
thing with Saw. Like, I think the first Saw is like a fantastic movie. But by the time you get to like what, Spiral, the Chris Rock one, which was like it was a flop and universally panned, like, how do you keep relevant in the horror story? And I think not Saw, I think Scream has been able to do that because it's been able to keep up with the times. But also, the kind of the point of Scream is that it's like a meta commentary on horror itself. So I would say, even if you've only seen the first one, if you haven't seen 2, 3, 4, I would say 5 is worth a watch. I think me and Mikey talked about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the show about how, he watched all of the series. I've seen 1 and 2 and 3, but I don't really remember 2 and 3, and I didn't see 4, but I still had a good time watching it.
Yeah, for me, I think that, as you mentioned earlier, the first one is always, it brings you something fresh, something new. For example, The Conjuring. The first one was just amazing, in my opinion. But then after the second one and The Nun and all these different variations, it just got a little tiresome. I think that also having these two new filmmakers on board gives it another kind of fresh take on the old story.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up The Conjuring, and isn't Annabelle a part of that universe too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you have The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2. There's like, what, 3 Annabelle movies?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's The Nun, and it's just like so much to like, all right, we've had enough of this. We're kind of bored. I think also The Purge, like, was the same thing. Like, it was a cool concept at first, and then it just got boring. And I think they tried to make it relevant again with making it like social commentary on the times with, the 2016 election and Trumpism and stuff like that. They tried to go into more of a political social commentary angle, and even then, it was still kind of like, eh, eh. But
To be honest, I never watched the first Purge. It gave me so much anxiety that I think after about 15 minutes, I done.
yeah, oof.
Yeah, I like the first one. I like the second one, but then it just started kind of, I don't know. It's tough. Like, it's tough to gauge when they should be like, all right, this is going to be like a straight to streaming movie, because there is still an audience that wants to see them, but it's just not, in the masses of like, let's go ahead and put this out in theaters.
Hey, have y'all seen the movie Mother?
No, the one with Jennifer Lawrence?
Yeah.
No, but I was considering watching it, but I get anxiety with really gruesome stories, and I hear that it was very, very gruesome.
Movie is anxiety on like 11.
Yeah, I could.
That movie is an experience. Well, it basically, it doesn't start out bad, but once it's like a roller coaster. You got to steady like, and you're gonna reach your peak and just fuck.
Yeah, honestly, whenever it has to do with gore, I love horror as far as paranormal, but any type of gore like zombie films just drive my anxiety through the roof.
For sure. Well, I wouldn't recommend Mother then. Anyways, moving on from the paranormal and the gory to the, well, I guess we could say the music industry. So Neil Young. Now, I know that we talked about this before the show. Neither of us really know who Neil Young is. Neil Young was a rocker from the 70s. Now, where he pretty much, I don't know much about his story, but from where I know him from is that he made an album called Southern Man, right? Now, this was actually in 1970, and Southern Man, what it was, it took the South to task for its history on slavery and the aftermath. And the song "Sweet Home Alabama" by Lynyrd Skynyrd they had a line where they said, uh, "Southern man don't need Neil Young" or something along the lines. I think it was "Southern man don't need Neil Young around no more" or something like that. Honestly, this is kind of like, if from what I can think of, this is kind of the earliest diss track that I've heard of. So Neil Young, that's where he kind of gets a lot of his like pop culture his fame from. Now, what was I saying? So he said that he wants to remove all of his music from Spotify because of Joe Rogan and the fact that Spotify has Joe Rogan under payroll. He's their number one podcaster, and he says that he's been spreading misinformation about the vaccine. Um, so not only is he the only one to ask to have his music removed, but here's a list of other artists: Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Failure, which I've never heard of them. They're a band. Graham Nash, India Arie, Joni Mitchell, Nils Lofgren, and I believe that's it for right now. So it's a lot of more older contemporary music artists, like stuff that really like our generation wouldn't really listen to. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't, but it's not in particular mainstream what our generation would listen to, and it definitely wouldn't be what the generation below us listens to. So my question to you is, how much of an impact is this really making? Do you think that this could make a change? Would Spotify respond? What could they do?
Joe Rogan's podcast, I'm a podcast listener myself, not of Joe Rogan's podcast, but, Spotify is my pretty much main source of podcast entertainment. And I always look for new things to listen to. And Joe Rogan's has stayed steady at the top for months. So I don't know if Spotify would be willing to take on a new policy regarding misinformation, just because he is such a highlight and prominent podcaster in Spotify's community. That being said, I appreciate them taking a stand for what they believe in. I mean, no act is too small if you stand for what you believe is right.
Yeah, I think that like it's interesting because there's definitely that generational gap where it's like, who the hell is Neil Young? Like, I've never heard of him. But at the same time, everyone right now is kind of, if they have a stance on something and they want their voice to be heard, like they do something, they do an action to kind of say, this is my take on it. And if it makes an impact or doesn't make an impact, like I'm going to make sure that my voice is heard. So there's kind of that weird like connection there where it's like, I'm sure some of the younger generation could look at what he's doing and then agree with like, all right, like, yeah, this old man's like taking a stand and being like, take my music off of that streaming service. So it's like everyone has a right to do it, I guess. I guess it's just like whether or not I don't know if that'll lose him money necessarily. Like, I don't know what it looks like as a financial move, but like at the end of the day, if he wants to do it, he could do it. And it's his music. So it's like, whatever, like if you want to do it, then go for it and kind of go from there to see what happens, I guess.
How do you think like Apple Music and Tidal, what do you think they're looking at this and possibly considering like maybe we should not have certain podcasts on our platform, maybe in a preventative move, like we're not going to have Joe Rogan because, well, or we're not going to ask anyone. I'm trying to think of someone else controversial, someone like, I don't know if any of you have heard of Joe Budden, who is also kind of a controversial figure in the podcasting world, but maybe we'll stay away from people like this, that even though they make, they have numbers, is it worth the bad publicity, or is it worth, having artists pull their music off our platform?
Yeah, I think that the like Apple Music and stuff like that, they're probably wanting this to all just kind of be like, they kind of probably want everything to kind of blow over. They kind of don't want it to go any deeper than what it is, because if it does reach that point where a lot of people are joining that movement or wanting to pull their stuff off and pushing Apple or Spotify to make certain requirements of what can and what can't be on their streaming services, I think that that's where it gets a little dicey, because then it starts going into people. Some people have podcasts because they just want to speak their mind. It's the freedom of speech to just say whatever they want to say and have whoever listen to whatever they want to say if they want to. If they don't want to listen, then jump off and go somewhere else. But it's like it's going to be tough for them to kind of navigate through, okay, we're going to keep you, but we're not going to keep you, because you know how it is with people diving into social media, and they could easily pull up something from 10 years ago and be like, oh, so Apple supports this person, but did they know that that person did, XYZ 10 years ago, and now it's, they're on the wrong side of the fence. So I think they're kind of hoping that this blows over and it doesn't get bigger than what it is, because if it does, then they're going to have to make some tough decisions.
It's also a fine line of censorship as well. Not saying that I support the misinformation, but there are certain reaches that should be, as far as me, I am a journalist, or I was a journalism major, but I got a degree in journalism, and censorship is such a huge thing. Misinformation should, never be something that people get their feed from, and unfortunately, it will always be the case. But it's a matter of opinion. I think is more, how are they going to obtain their news? So Joe Rogan has misinformation about this, but maybe he has a different stance on something else. And just reaching out to different news outlets. Like Joe Rogan is not a news person by any means. He doesn't deliver news. He's not a scientist. So if people are listening him in the same way that people were listening to Trump and like taking it as gospel, I think that just goes to show like the type of person they are than, who Joe Rogan is. I don't know.
Fair enough. Zombie Bay in the chat says Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have also raised concerns over Spotify and COVID-19 misinformation. I mean, granted, I think it boils down to the same issue. I think we know who Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are, and we've seen kind of the stand they've taken against the royal family. So it's kind of like, oh well, good for them. But do younger people really care about them? I don't think so. I think I work with kids, and kids be like, who the hell is that? Like, we don't care what they think. Also, Zombie Bait also says Young also had polio when he was a kid. So it seems like this seems like a kind of a deeply personal thing for him, because the polio vaccine was something that could prevent people from going through what he went through, and he probably has good reason to be pissed off at what Joe Rogan is saying. So definitely. But you know what they say when it comes to an argument, that it takes two to tangle. So speaking of which, tell me what's up with It Takes Two, the video game.
So It Takes Two is actually one of the best games in 2021. In fact, it took home a top accolade at Game Awards in December. So the story is that now there's a movie in the works. So the game, kind of, for those that don't know, the game, it puts you in the shoes of Cody and May. It's a bickering couple on the verge of divorce, and the daughter, upset about the situation, accidentally casts a magical spell and puts the parents and shrinking them down and forcing them to work together to navigate through the world of toys and inanimate objects. So I think for me, just kind of knowing about the game and the backstory and stuff like that, it translating to a movie, I think would be pretty interesting, just because this automatically throws me back to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I remember watching that movie, a few times when I was a kid, and just being like, it's so cool, like how I like the way that the set and like the way they blew things up, riding the ant and everything. What was the treat? Was it like a ho or something like that they like dig into when they're like, they find it like out, what I'm talking about? They're eating it and it's like so big. So anyways, I just think that it's like really cool, those movies when they blow stuff up and you're kind of like having these kids walk through and kind of figure things out, and the whole story is taking place in just like the backyard. So that kind of translating to this game, and the roles being reversed, for now the parents are the small ones, I think it could do really well. We'll just kind of see how it goes, but I think that for it being what it is, and knowing how well Honey, I Shrunk the Kids did, I think that this one has some potential to see, it doing just as well.
All right. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted because I moved my head, and then I was like, what the fuck is that? And I think my brother put this in my room. It's a Groot doll with a wig on it. I don't know where that wig is from, but that freaked me the hell out for a second. But yeah, going back to your point of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I mean, isn't Disney making Aren't they making a revival themselves also?
Yeah, I think I heard some news about that. To be honest, I've never actually seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I know that was like such a big 90s film. What, I think it was the 90s. I don't even remember. I like more animated stuff as a kid. But I honestly I saw, I don't know much about the video game, but I did watch a trailer of it. And I think that there are several themes that would translate so well as far as like a film. And I think that's something that's going to be fun to look forward to. It's like it seems like it would be a nice family film, and how to overcome certain hurdles and not let hate be the drive.
Oh, you kind of got muted there at the end, Jen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just saying that it would be a nice film. I think it would be a nice family film. I can imagine it being that, and just with a motive of how people can overcome and not let hate be a drive.
Right, right.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
also it's one of those things where it could be a bridge for someone to take their, for younger children, not younger, but like kids to watch this movie with their parents, and it could be a bridge to kind of explain what it is with, divorce and your parents and what that means and the implications and why sometimes it's not just a bad thing. Sometimes it's better for everyone in the long run, or even, it could be one of those things where it's like, maybe, we have to look, the parents would have to look within themselves and be like, okay, like maybe we should stop overreacting and talk this out. And you know, I think it's got a good message. I'm excited. I haven't played It Takes Two, but everything that I've seen and looked about it, it looks fantastic, like a co-op 3D platformer. And we talked about this. I think the cool thing, because the guy who made this game, Joseph Harris, he has done A Way Out and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which are also co-op games. And a lot of the times with the games that he makes, it does this thing where you don't need to have both people have the game. Just one person needs to copy the game, and then they can send a code to their friends so they can play together online, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think that is pretty cool. That if they, I think more people would probably buy more games if they knew that they had to have a co-op person to play with. You split it down the middle. Like, all right, we'll go half on this game. I think that's pretty cool, but it is going to suck for the people that don't have friends and they're not going to be able to play.
Yeah, but I am, like you had mentioned, it's I come from a background where my parents divorced, and it can scar people. It can scar people, or it can help. And in my situation, it definitely helped. I was actually very happy when they separated. So I think that this can also be a solace for young children who are experiencing similar battles at the home.
Right. All right. Let's move on to the next story. Now, Shovel Knight, very popular game, very popular series. Not publisher, developer Yacht Club Games. They had a Nintendo Direct style stream yesterday, and it pretty much gave us the viewers a whole idea of what they have down the pipeline, what they have coming out. And the first thing is that Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon which is essentially a puzzle version of Shovel Knight, is getting a free update and DLC. The free update pretty much controls how fast it gives you control over how fast the board fills up when you fall in battle. It gives you multiplayer tips, new portraits for the characters, more transparency for the CPU level, and also launching three three uh three DLC packs with online versus mod support, new characters, enemies, bosses, items, and secrets. Which, I've never played Pocket Dungeon. I have played the original Shovel Knight, but watching the video, this very much looks like kind of like a Pokemon Puzzle League style game, like with not Tetris, but more of like Tetris Attacks or Puyo Puyo. But the big news that they came out is they're finally publishing their first non-Shovel Knight game in forever, and it's essentially a 60 FPS Game Boy Color homage called Mina the Hollower, where you play as this mouse named Mina, who is an adventurer going into this kingdom that has seen basically gone run amok because her friend the king has sent her a letter saying that the engine that she built for them is now running amok and monsters are taking over the island. So it's very much like Game Boy Color, Link's Awakening style games. Have either of you ever played Shovel Knight or heard of it?
I have heard of Shovel Knight. I've never played it, although I am familiar with the more retro style software and feel of it.
What you
Yeah,
know?
same. I mean, I think for me, like, I'm a fan of the retro style gaming. When the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and the when they came out with like those little retro, the mini ones, we got both of them here at the house, and then we still have our GameCube, and I even built a Lego set of the original Nintendo gaming system. But I'm a fan of the retro gaming systems and how we're using them nowadays. You know what I mean? I think there's so much you can get out of those games where it's just simple. It's simple gameplay. The graphics are what they are, and sometimes I feel like they have a better storyline because they had to rely more on that as opposed to the graphics in some cases.
Right. I think for me, I want to say I'm sick of the retro style games because I do like Shovel Knight. I bought it for the Wii U, which shows you how old this game is. I bought it for the Wii U. I played it. I didn't beat it, but I played through most of it. I loved it. I think I got another game that pretty much took my attention away from it. But then they started coming out with the DLC packs, and Shovel Knight kind of kicked off. Well, I wouldn't say kicked off, but it was the peak of retro revival games where we see games in this pixelated art style, 2D platformers coming from all these indie studios where we're trying to recreate the Super Nintendo and the regular Nintendo. But I think for me, after a while, I was like, you know what I want to see? Is all these studios are doing 2D platformers. I want to see more studios try to take on a 3D platformer like the N64 style games. Like your
Mhm.
Mario 64, your Banjo Kazooie, your Conker's Bad Fur Day, uh, Gex, I don't know. Uh, all those mascot platformers from, I want to say, the N64 and early PS2 era games is what I want to see more. So I wouldn't say I'm sick of it. And I think this Mina the Hollower game looks dope because it does really remind me of a Link's Awakening, which was the Game Boy game. But you know what would have made me more excited if they would have announced Shovel Knight 64. I think that would have been like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree in this may be a hot take, but I do like where Nintendo's going as far as not having everything be so linear and similar. With the start of it being Breath of the Wild, I mean is probably hands down like one of my favorite, like one of my top 3 Zelda games, and I think it's just because it's so different and so unique and just it upped the ante, and so that's why you see things like Legends Arceus coming out, and where it's non-linear. I guess it's still linear, but not in the same way, and trying to be a little bit better as far as graphics. I mean, it's Nintendo, so you got to give it, credit where credit's due. But I mean, I definitely like the way that it, at least as far as Nintendo is heading, like toward the future, and then kind of giving a nod to the nostalgia factor, but I don't know. I just appreciate the newness of it.
For sure. Zombie Bay in the chat says probably around 10 years from now a studio will. At the moment, studios are big on 16-bit games. Yeah, I mean I can see that. It's like anything, they're just going with what they can within their limitations. But we have seen some studios try to attempt to do this. For example, Platonic Games about how long was it ago now? 3 years ago, put out Ukulele, which they were a lot of the Rare developers who left Rare, formed their own studios, and they tried to make an homage to Banjo Kazooie in Donkey Kong 64, which got mixed reviews, mixed to positive. So they still haven't perfected the formula, but I would like to see more studios try to give that style game a bit more of a shot, because even though the Super Nintendo was my first console, like it was really the N64 where I really have my most fond memories.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it is the godfather of games, right? The gaming console. But that being said, let's talk about The Godfather.
Wow.
So there's there's a new 10 episode series being put out by, I believe it's Paramount Plus, called The Offer. It's going to star Miles Teller and Juno Temple, and it's pretty much based off of the making of the Godfather films, or film rather, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's going to have different people in it that star as like the or that are going to play like people that we know. For example, Francis Ford Coppola, and Albert S. Ruddy. So it's pretty much just following his attempt to make The Godfather and where it's going to go. Fun fact: it did have Armie Hammer in it, and he was replaced by Miles Teller because of the stuff that he did.
What happened with Armie
You
Hammer?
said you don't know what he's done, right?
No.
Oh God.
Yikes.
All right. So Armie Hammer is basically he fetishizes cannibalism.
Yeah. And
What?
so he's married, and I mean, I guess if they have an open relationship, it is what it is. But it's what he was telling his other, for lack of a better term, mistresses, what he wanted to do to them, like drink their blood and have, yeah. Yikes. I don't know.
There's screenshots of DMs of him basically saying, I'm going to think about breaking your bones. And oh my God. Oh my God, I'm reading the DMs now. If I do you in a vegetative state, I'd keep you, feed you, wash you, and keep. Wow, yo, like this guy is crazy. Armie Hammer is for sure nuts,
Yeah.
and and I think, moving aside from him, the story, and like, good thing he got replaced because that man is nuts. But Zombie Bait in the chat says WTF? Yeah, if you look up Armie Hammer and then in the news, you'll find you'll find some stuff about him that will be shocking to say the least. But moving away from him, I think for me, I'm excited about this. I've only seen the first Godfather, and everyone always gasps at me when I say, "Oh, I've never seen Godfather 2." They're like, "How have you not seen Godfather 2? It's one of the best movies of all time." Blah blah blah. I get that. See, I'm just bad at watching stuff. I have a long list of a backlog of stuff. Now, I've always very interested in these behind the scene dramatizations of Hollywood and what is the story behind the story. I'm excited about it to see how, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of how the politics in play, because when you watch the trailer, the movie is being made and they're saying like, no, we don't want to do it. Like old Hollywood gangster movies are done. Like those are never going to be come back in style. Like you got to do something new. And it's the story of how it was being made despite the odds. Like me and Mikey recently watched last year. Well, I wouldn't say recently, but last year we watched the what was the name of the movie? The Lucille Ball movie, Becoming the Arnezes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched that, and I very much enjoyed it because it is the back because you see kind of the facade, not the facade, but this I Love Lucy, and you see this couple and what you see on TV, but now you get to see the real story. So I'm
Behind the
excited for
curtain.
all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Samantha says it's okay, Gio. I've only seen the first Godfather 2. Yeah, so yeah.
I'll give you one better. I've not seen any of them.
Oh, really? What about you, Josh?
No. Neither have I.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna give you too much crap for it.
I mean,
It-
I've seen like I know certain parts of it because it's such a brilliant film that every like other type of genre has to reference it. So I know like certain things, like for example, the horse head, and you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding. So like there are certain things I know about the film. I've never seen it.
From Zootopia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those quintessential movies that if you consider yourself a film buff, then you have to see it because it's
Yeah.
always so parodied and quoted. And Marlon Brando some people say that it's his finest performance.
Really?
So, yeah. Anyways,
Did
let's move
anyone?
on from that. Moving on to something spooky. Ghostwire Tokyo. Sony has pulled back the curtain on this game. See, the thing about Ghostwire Tokyo that is also very interesting, because similarly to Deathloop, which came out last year, it is a TangoWorks video game. Now, if you don't know what that means, they're a Bethesda studio, and Xbox purchased Bethesda last year. So essentially, this is an Xbox Studios game being published exclusively for the PlayStation 5, which is always kind of confusing, but we'll get more on the video game acquisition politicking a little bit later. But we've they've given us they pulled back with a Sony State of Play where they previewed 10 minutes of gameplay, and it explores Tokyo after it's been taken over by supernatural forces, with the entire population vanishing. So in the game, it plays like a first person. I would say it's almost BioShocky, if either of you have ever heard of BioShock or played BioShock, where you have essentially first person, but instead of just weapons, you're using powers. You use this power called ethereal weaving, where you channel raw wind, fire, and water ether to battle these ghosts. And the story is, it's a first person perspective. You play a Keto who can use psychic and paranormal activities to defeat these creatures that are haunting the city. And what I really enjoy about it is there's something to be said about Japanese horror, to where even back, I want to say in the mid 2000s, we started getting a lot of Hollywood movies that were taking inspiration from Japanese horror. You had The Ring, you had One Missed Call, you had what's the other one? The Grudge, right? And you have all of Hollywood kind of taking from Japanese horror, and you have all these different demons and ghosts, and to me, they look creepier than most American demons and American ghosts. What do you all think? Do you have experience watching these movies?
Oh, yes. Those are some of the most terrifying movies of my childhood. The Ring, The Grudge. Yeah. And the thing is that I actually watched both the American version and the Japanese version because my brother was really into Japanese horror films.
Yeah.
And I think it just, there's just something about Japanese horror. I think they also came out with the show, The Grudge. I don't know if you saw that. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Show?
There's a
That's
show,
right.
and it's terrifying.
I think those movies those movies and shows do a good job of just making your skin crawl, where you're just
Unsettling.
like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I mean? Like, you get chills, full body chills when you just like watch stuff like that. But that show that was on Netflix, there's one scene that's like insane. It's like,
No spoilers.
no spoilers, but it's just like, definitely when you watch it, it's something that you'll see and you're kind of like, I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I didn't even know I could think about watching something like this, because it's just that like creepy and like skin crawling. And when you're watching it, it just makes you kind of just.
What about horror video games? What's your experience with those?
I played a couple. I've never finished one, but I played Outlast, and I have played Biohazard, Resident Evil, and I do very poorly with them just because, as I mentioned earlier, I have anxiety, and so my nerves get the best of me, and I think I've played maybe 15 minutes of both of those games, but those 15 minutes of gameplay extended to like 2 hours just because I literally could not inch forward.
So what you're telling me is you'd never play Resident Evil in VR.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, here's the thing. It's so funny because I love watching horror films or watching horror shows, but when it comes over to like me being like the first person experience of them, and there's just something that I cannot deal with.
Yeah, my brother played a lot of those games growing up, and like I was never really into them. The only kind of horror thing that I played was Half-Life 2 on the PC, and that was the only game that I was like super into. And then other than that, like, kind of fell off my radar.
I have been wanting to like create maybe a stream though, because I have been told by my sister that I'm very entertaining while I'm playing these games.
Yeah, it's like the second
Honestly,
years.
I could see that being successful. Nice Samantha in the chat says Junji Ito is like the king of horror manga in Japan, and most of his terror is from creating scenes that are disturbing, and that creates for more fear. If you love horror, Nice Samantha recommends the mangas. Have you heard of Junji Ito, Jen? I
Yes.
know you. Yeah. Okay.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure. I'm excited to see his because Adult Swim is coming up with a Umaki like an animated of that manga, so I'm excited for it.
That is so cool. Yeah, it's he's brilliant.
All right, let's move on from the horror to the action. What is up with Halo?
Halo. So we're finally getting a TV series adaptation. So Halo's been one of those games that's always been talked about, and it's finally happening where Paramount Plus again is going to be doing an adaptation of the well-known game into a series. The trailer came out I believe it was last weekend, during the football game, and it's a pretty cool trailer. Like I watched it, I think it's really cool. Like I just think shows like that where you're kind of immersed in it and you have a character that's fully suited out with like a helmet and everything, it really kind of sets me in where I'm like, okay, like I really want to see where this goes. So I'm excited to to watch it. And I know I have Paramount Plus. I don't know how many people really have Paramount Plus, but I feel like a lot of stuff's coming out on that streaming platform lately, and it's good stuff. You got this coming out. The Godfather topic that we talked about, that's also coming out on Paramount Plus. It's just I don't know who else. Like if it's a very popular streaming service, but I know I have it, and I know that I'll watch the series for sure just to check it out to see what it's all about. I think it could be really good from kind of switching from game to film because they have so much material that they can use.
Now, oh, go ahead, Jen.
No, I was just going to add on that I believe it's supposed to air on the 24th of March.
Yeah, the 24th of March is the day that they have locked in for the showing.
Okay, for sure. Now, I was gonna ask, like, did you get Paramount Plus through any kind of deal or bundle, or did you just decide to subscribe to it?
My brother actually had it, and he just like shot me a text one day, and he was like, "Hey, I'm watching this show. You should check it out." And I'm like, "What is it on?" He was like, "Paramount Plus," and he shot me his login. And I was like, "All right, cool." And like ever since like the recommendation, is kind of like I've been going on there. I've watched a bunch of stuff. What's really cool is like they have a bunch of different shows that are from like other countries. So like for example, like I do like a lot of trashy reality. Like when it comes to like Survivor, they have like Australian Survivor or South African Survivor. So they have like a lot of different shows that we have over here, but just like set out in like the UK or Australia or somewhere else. So like for me, I think it's very interesting to watch. So I don't know. Do you have Paramount Plus?
No, I don't. I mean, honestly, the only streaming services that I actually pay for that I don't have from anyone else is or through other legal means, is Crunchyroll and Funimation is priorities. But I don't know if Halo really entices, because I watched the trailer too, and it's an interesting trailer. It didn't really suck me in. I'm not really sold on it because I wasn't really a big Halo player growing up, but also the point is, to me, when you're watching Halo, when you play Halo, do you really care about any characters other than Master Chief and Cortana?
I don't know. I don't know those. I have never played those games, but I think with the when I was watching the trailer, what it sort of gave me Mandalorian vibes, and I'm wondering if that's going to be like the new kind of trend of nerdy TV is just the man like behind the mask, and like you never see this character. It's something that I think appeals to a lot of people because it gives them some type of mystery, and like you just can't help but watch.
So do you think that the Mandalorian is pretty much setting up the blueprint for this kind of like you said, the man behind the mask, the big silent protagonist, and you just fill him with like situations and a supporting cast, they'd fill in more of the vocal roles.
Yeah, I think 100% that Mandalorian's like laying that foundation down because I mean that show came out and everyone started talking about it, and I feel like it just kind of rejuvenated a lot of what people were wanting out of the Star Wars like universe. You know what I mean? The movies are great, but I think when you're able to kind of build more of like a relationship with these characters because it's episode after episode and it's kind of expanded longer than your typical 2 hours or hour and a half movie. I think that's it speaks more to like, okay, us being able to relate to these characters and having that man behind the mask or woman behind the mask where you're not able to see who they are like head on, but you're able to look at their actions and the way that they speak and stuff like that. I think that it really kind of contributes to you forming that connection and being like, dude, this person's dope. Like, I really like them.
Yeah. And even without that mask, like it doesn't even have to have a physical mask, but just kind of like a metaphorical mask. Everybody, I think, has that like want to see that the man behind the mystery or the woman behind the mystery, like the aloof character, the person that has a few words to say, but they're just very stoic, or some type of that character. I think a lot of people are really enticed to see what that character and how that character develops.
Yeah. And it's cool when they get a suit. You know what I mean? Like, you get a full-fledged suit. Like, there's just something cool about that, I think. Like, to see it in a game or to see it in a comic and then like, see it come to life, I think that that's like really dope.
I thought we just had someone follow us. Mikey, who was that? So I can give him a shout out.
It was 9x10 Rare Americans. Thank you for the follow.
Thank you. Salute. Thank you for the follow. Thank you to follow. Anyway, like I was saying, I do agree with you in the sense that, well, one, the Mandalorian has been so influential that I think it is kind of setting a bit of a trend. I don't think this really gets made if the Mandalorian wasn't such a big hit. So we'll see, because they've been trying to adapt Halo for years. I remember when I was in middle school hearing about a Halo movie. I heard that Steven Spielberg was attached to it, and it was just something that was in pre-production for so long. Deals being made, people being attached, people dropping, that it just seemed like it would never happen, and now it actually is. So we'll see how it turns out. But speaking of highly anticipated things that have been in development for so long, our next story is finally, GTA 6 has been announced. Now, GTA is something that GTA 5 has been out since what? 2009? 2010? It's been more than 10 years. Right? Ever since GTA 5 came out, and they released it on PS3 and Xbox 360. Then it came out on PS5 and Xbox One X. Then they announced a PS5 version and a Xbox Series X version, and people were not happy about it because, if you remember, the story was when they announced the PS5 version, it was one of the most downvoted videos on YouTube because people were just so sick of that game. They were like, enough of GTA 5 already. So, what was I going to say? Let me read this quote from Rockstar Games from their newswire. Now it says, with the unprecedented longevity of GTA 5, we know many of you have been asking about a new entry in the Grand Theft Auto series. With every new project we embark on, our goal is always to significantly move beyond what we have previously delivered, and we are pleased to confirm that have active development for the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto series is well underway. We look forward to sharing more news as we are ready, so please stay tuned to Rockstar Newswire for official details. So everything is TBA. The only thing that they've really said was what platforms will GTA 6 be released on. It says TBA, but likely Xbox Series X, S, PS5, and PC. So no Switch, unfortunately. But we all kind of knew that was the deal with GTA. Now, what is your experience with Grand Theft Auto?
0.
None. Neither of you
None.
played it.
None. I think we talked about this before the show. I played Driver, which is like close to kind of a similar type of game
Okay.
back on PS2, and that was probably the last game I played that was like that.
Okay, but even if you haven't played it, right? You've seen it. It's a very big pop culture thing. What are your impressions on GTA?
I think it definitely like laid out some foundation that people were like it created its own genre of games and people were like excited to play it. But I think I remember growing up when people were playing that game, it was kind of like something where like if your parents let you play it, then like that was cool to like play. You know what I mean? Like for me and like what I played, my parents were like helicopter parents where they kind of supervised what I could play and what I couldn't play, and it just wasn't a game that like fell into my lap where I'm like, all right, cool, I could play this game and test it out. Like my parents weren't about that, but I mean, for me, I think it just definitely set its own genre, laid out a good foundation, and I mean, you're able to pinch out 5 games and now 6 coming out. Like that's pretty big. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, okay, Josh, you mentioned you have a how much younger is your brother than you?
He's 4 years younger than I am.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you this because we both have younger brothers. Mine's 10 years younger than me. And you said your parents were helicopter parents. Were they less strict on your brother than on you?
Oh, for sure.
Man, dude, I remember not being allowed to play Super Smash Brothers when I was 11, but my brother could play GTA at 14. I was so livid when I found that out. Like when I was like 19, I was watching my brother play GTA, and I looked at my mom like, "Yo, what is this?" I'm
Yeah.
so pissed. I'm so livid. But anyway, the thing about GTA also, you mentioned how it was influential in creating the sandbox style games, and you see that with things like you said, Driven, Crackdown, uh, what else? The Saints Row series, which people always say is like the methed out version of GTA. These open world sandbox style games where you can go around and do anything, and if you want to do a mission, you would drive to a spot and then it would start a mission. They started a whole genre. It became a phenomenon, right? And it even was controversial for things of well, the beginning is when GTA 3 came out, it was about, the violence, the the violence, the crimes that were being committed, and then we get into Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and it gets into sexual content with the whole hot coffee mod, which I don't know if either of you remember that controversy.
No.
So there was there was an unused code in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas that hackers were able to pull out, where if you take a woman to her house, she'll invite you in for hot coffee, and it leads to a sex minigame. And so it was not in the original, game. You had to pretty much like you had to hack it out to make it playable. But when people found that out, it came out, woo! Like the news storms, the firings, the news fire that spread everywhere. People were talking about hot coffee, and video games became like the zeitgeist of is this appropriate? Should we ban games? Should we be more stricter on people playing games? Should we be more stricter on sales of the games and things of that nature? So, yeah, 1v1 show Smash Brothers full of violence. Get out of here, Mikey. Anyway, but I'm excited for this because GTA, despite what people say about it, I think does have some nuance to it as far as what was I going to say? As far as the story that it's telling, because the last game talked a lot about American consumerism and greed and what that could do to a person. GTA 4, you see talking about like someone who is an immigrant coming to Liberty City and what is the American dream and things of that nature. So even though there is a lot of, things about it, I think well, I don't know much about GTA 3, but GTA 4 and GTA 5 for sure do have some messages in it that might be lost over people's heads because all they want to do is run around and just commit drive-bys. But we'll see. We'll see what nuances they throw in it. I'm excited for it. And yeah. But anyways, moving off GTA, let's move on to the next big story that happened this week, which is Sony and Bungie. Tell me more about that. What's going on with those two studios?
Yeah, so there's a merger taking place. Sony Interactive Entertainment will acquire Halo video game creator Bungie in a $3.6 billion deal, the company said on Monday. I think earlier in January, Microsoft bought out Activision Blizzard, the creator of Call of Duty, and that was a nearly $70 billion deal. So there's a lot of mergers taking place. Bungie split with Microsoft and became privately held back in 2007 and will join Sony's PlayStation family. The company now plans to hire more talent across its studio for Destiny 2, a video game previously published by Activision Blizzard. So what do you think about the mergers?
Well, there's a lot of things at play here because the knee-jerk reaction is if you see this, oh, Sony just announced they bought Bungie. The knee-jerk reaction is this has to be a response to Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard.
Mm.
But Sony has refuted that statement, saying that this has been in a deal. This has been in the works for a long time now. Like we've been actively talking about Bungie, about acquiring them and having them, make games for us. Now, another thing to note is that when they made this acquisition, Bungie has gone out and said that they will still publish their games independently, which is very interesting because you would think that with a merger, that means that Sony would want a lot of those games to be exclusive. But Jim Ryan, boss of Sony, has said that, what's the word I'm looking for? He said that we are going multi-platform. So what I think that means is that Destiny 2 is not going off of Xbox services. They're going to keep it there. They're going to continue to have those games there. Now, Zombie Bait 90 says Destiny isn't a console seller. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. But I think it would almost be, it seems like it could be a petty move, being like, oh, we just acquired the studio that made Halo, like your biggest franchise, and now we own them. And just kind of taking Destiny seems like it could be a kind of like slap in the face. But no, I think Sony is playing this more of a, we want Bungie to have that freedom to put Destiny out, Destiny 2, and all those other contents multi-platform. Now, this also comes off before the news that Sony has said that they are they are putting out 10 more live service games. What does that mean? With Bungie, it seems like they have the pedigree and they have the developers in place to be able to put those on. Now, I've never played Destiny, and it's not really my type of game. What about y'all? Have y'all ever played Destiny?
No, is that like a first-person shooter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not big on first-person shooters. I'm terrible at them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But here, let me put it to you like this. What about live service games? Any experience with those?
Is Genshin Impact a live service game?
Yes.
Okay, so I have dabbled in Genshin Impact, although I'm very limited.
Right. What about you, Josh?
Nope.
No?
No.
No live service games for you? Yeah, see, I'm not really big on live service games either, but it seems like we are moving more towards a future where that just is becoming more of the norm. Because it seems like publishers are realizing like, yo, we can make more money off of people, and it would take less work to essentially maintain a game and add new content to it and just get more and more money from people as far than spending hundreds of millions of dollars on creating a brand new AAA game. And then, having just get, it could sell a couple million copies and we'd get like $60-$70 from people. But if we just come up with one game and constantly maintain it, then we could get, $100-$200 from people who want to buy the cosmetic updates, buy the new packs, buy all the cards, buy whatever collectibles it is. What is the DLC campaign? So it just seems like we're moving towards this new future where live service games are becoming more the norm. And honestly, to be quite frank, I hate it. I'm not a fan of live service games. I think they're boring. The design of them, maybe gameplay wise, could be fun, but as far as story and narrative and the stuff I really play games for, it just draws a flat dud to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about that genre of gaming, but when you had mentioned DLC, I mean, I definitely it has always kind of given me a bad vibe that, you know, video games would want to push out as many pennies as they possibly can from your pocket. You know, for example, Breath of the Wild, they came out with 2 expansion packs, and it would have just been nice to have, like, you know, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. That's your game, and you get it, and there's nothing else. Like, there you go, you have it. And then, but with the Breath of the Wild, it was like you had to buy the expansion pack, and so a game that I spent, I think it was $70 on, ended up being closer to like 100, and I think the two combined were like 50 or something like that. So like $130, just with the, or 120, $130 with those expansion packs.
Yeah. Zombie Bait in the chat says the problem with the service or with live service is developers use it as an excuse to cut content story from a game and then sell it to you. Pretty much what you pretty much just said. I mean, DLC is something that's, for me, I have no problem with DLC as long as what the original game that I get is feels complete. And if they have extra stuff they want to tell that they didn't have time to put in, that's fine with me. But also, I think another big question about this is, are we just going to start seeing third-party games or third-party studios get bought up? Are we no longer going to have an EA? Are we no longer going to have an Ubisoft? Are we no longer going to have a Take-Two? Like, is there is there a future where every game franchise is pretty much exclusive to Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, or whatever other services might be in the future?
I think there are certain developers who are able to stay independent. I believe Square Enix is one, if I'm understanding correctly. And they came out with, like, for example, Kingdom Hearts, and I think they also came out with Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they're that type of, when they have something established and built, I think they can get away with it because they have multiple consoles that they can go to. For example, Kingdom Hearts is Nintendo as well as Sony PlayStation. So I think it just depends on the drive and how big they are already, like how established they are, maybe.
I don't know, because if you could have Square Enix like look at those sales numbers and be like, yo, like $70 billion, we could make out like bandits. We could press Sony and say, hey, Microsoft has been talking to us, and unless you want Final Fantasy to go to Xbox, you better, how much you willing to pay for this? How much you willing to chunk out?
How much money, like how much profit are they getting from Final Fantasy? Like that game is a global phenomenon. Like I think it depends on how sweet of a deal it is. I don't know. I think it just depends on the developer and what their motives are, and or what their drive is.
Yeah, I think when they're working independently, like they have full range to do what they want to do and how they want to do it. And like I think that with these bigger like Sony and stuff, like buying out these other companies, like it's cool because on one hand you're like, Bungie gets access to all the stuff that Sony has, so like they could really put out some good stuff because they have all these tools that maybe they didn't have before. You know what I mean? Like there's more things, more connections that they have that they're able to put on and have this like really, really good like stuff being developed and created together. But the back end of that is, they could be putting stuff together, and then Sony could be stepping in and being like, all right, we're going to nix this, we're going to nix that, that's going to be DLC, and we're going to go, you know what I mean? And the business side comes into it when it's like they're just trying to be creative and like put something out that's good for people. It's tough because you don't know. Originally, they could be like, we had this really good game for you, and it got whittled down to this because Sony wants to charge you XYZ for all this, DLC. So it's just like, it's difficult. It's that balance of like, do we stay independent and do our own thing, or do we go with the big boys where we're able to have access to different resources, but we're not able to really be in control of like our own show?
Yeah, I mean, but also the thing with that is you give up the control, but what you get in exchange is a larger bankroll and a bit of a safety net. Because if Sony or Microsoft is, they're telling you what to do, but if your game fails, they'll eat more of the costs than you will.
True.
So we'll see. We'll see how things play out. We'll see if there are any big acquisitions, because Jim Ryan, head of PlayStation, basically said expect more acquisitions from us in the future. So buckle in, y'all. It's going to be a crazy ride. All right. Let's move on to the next section, our top 5. So for this week, let me explain how the segment works. Basically, I come up with a topic, top 5. My or whoever our guests are, they come up with their 5. I come up with my 5, and then we just slowly, count down from 5 to 1, and who we want the most of, or who we're talking about in our top 5. So let's take it away. So give me your number 5.
All right, so we actually stood up really late trying to figure this out, because we had to have characters that we figured we could agree on, because there's 2 of us kind of putting together our top 5, so it's a little split. But in at number 5, we have the one and only R2D2.
Oh, interesting. You want someone who can't really talk to hang out with.
But here's my thing is R2D2, because he's living like he's never the bad guy, even when he is the bad guy. You know what I mean? He's literally on a quest to take down someone, and then once he gets caught, they're like, we're gonna let you slide because you're a droid. You know what I mean? Like, he gets a pass basically anywhere he goes. I don't know anyone that's like hating on R2 that's gonna be like, yo, take him out.
I gotta say, as someone who constantly trolls Mikey about Star Wars stuff, I don't think I've ever said a bad thing about R2D2. So
exactly.
Interesting.
Quite honestly, R2D2 was his pick. I did not pick R2. Not that I have anything against him, but I think there are other droids within the Star Wars franchise that are a lot better, in my opinion.
She likes that one from Rogue One.
Yeah, I honestly look. Okay, so I'm not a Star Wars geek, so I'm sorry I don't know the name, but the droid from Rogue One was so freaking cool. Like, he had the wit, like he was just this aloof character that just brought me so much joy, and like sacrifice, like what was bad about him?
K2SO, that's what Mikey says. Played by Alex.
You know who they wouldn't have to sacrifice? You know who wouldn't die? R2. That's what I'm saying. They're not gonna shoot him, they're gonna think he's a trash can. They're like, leave that guy alone.
All right. My number 5 would be, of course, Spike Spiegel. Now, any of you who watch Cowboy Bebop know that Spike is one of the coolest motherfuckers like in the galaxy. Man, even though I'm not a big fan of cigarette smoke, there's nothing cooler than this guy just out here smoking cigarettes, eating noodles. He's got a shady past, but I gotta say, in real life, a lot of my friends have shady pasts, so it's something that I'm used to, And the guy's just, I wouldn't say aloof, but he's kind of just chilling. It just seems like someone you could just, have a drink with, listen to some jazz music, and then after you're drunk, you could go and, eat some ramen noodles, and you'd be having a good old time just chilling with your bro. Gotta say, Spike Spiegel, one of the coolest dudes in the galaxy. He would be my number 5.
Swagger.
Yeah, Swagger on hit.
Mm-hmm.
The animated version, not no offense to John Cho, but he was all right. He was just all right in the role. All right. Hit me with your number 4.
All right. So number 4 is my pick. Excuse me. And I don't know if any of you may know this character, but it's the Little Prince from the book, The Little Prince.
Seen the Netflix movie.
Oh, I watched maybe halfway through, and I wasn't just. It's not that I didn't like it. I think we had different plans, and so I couldn't actually finish it. But
I enjoyed the movie, so
yeah, so it was originally a French book by author Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and or an American Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And it was just, it's supposed to be a children's book, but when you really read it and break it down, it's very much a book for adults as well. There's just so many motifs and themes and lessons learned, and I had to read it for my French class, so it was all in. I had to translate it, and it was just this little character, the little prince, and he just taught so many lessons. And for someone so small, had so much wisdom. He's definitely one of my favorite space characters.
he's in space. I think I remember him being in space, but
Yes, he lives on an asteroid.
oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read the book and then she said, let's talk about it. And then we talked about it and she said, go read it again. Oh, okay.
All right. Let's move on to my number 4. It would be Captain Kirk. Not William Shatner, but Captain Kirk from the Star Trek reboot, which is Chris Pine.
Mm.
Now, the reason why I choose the reboot Captain Kirk over the William Shatner Captain Kirk is because Captain Kirk in the movies, this dude is just out here getting into bar fights. He's out here, picking up women. He just seems, who Captain Kirk reminds me of? He reminds me, I have this friend, right? I got a friend named Bobby. And Captain Kirk reminds me of him because he's always out here willing to do whatever and having a good time, and he's always down with the get down. Now, will he abandon you somewhere because of some woman? Probably, which makes him kind of an asshole, but at the end of the day, he's still your bro. So that's why I chose Captain Kirk from the reboot, because even though he is, he can be a bit of an asshole and he can sometimes be a bad friend, he's always someone that you can count on to just go party with. So that's why I choose that Captain Kirk.
I've not actually seen any Star Trek films or show. It's been on my to-do list as well as Doctor Who, but there's just so much to encompass. I never know where to start.
You could always watch. Not Samantha, this is not to party with in LA though. That's true. You're right. When it comes to Star Trek, honestly, you could just watch the reboot movies, and then if you want to see more, you can go from there.
Cool. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Let
So
me hear
our
you.
number 3.
Coming in at number 3, Star Wars related again, we would go with Mando. And I think that for me, this is just a character that's done so much for the franchise, and I just think he's fucking dope, dude. Like, he just don't take no shit, and he just like he's all about like I got an objective to get it done. I'm gonna go get it done. You know what I mean? Like, I think he would definitely be someone that's cool to like go have a beer with, to chill with.
He would bring you in warm, or he would bring you in cold.
Yeah. He's just like, he's a smooth talker. Like, I'd probably befriend him and be like, go talk to that girl for me. And then next thing you know, she's just like, hey, he told me so much about you. And I just have him do all the talking for me.
No, he would be the type of person who, if a girl, you asked him to talk to a girl, she would immediately
Go with
him.
Or I could just be like, hey, that's my friend right there. And ride his coattails. Like, he just seems so cool. Like, same thing like you said earlier.
He's just
got swagger, man.
Yeah, he's the type of character where you would make one great wingman.
Yeah.
Swagoo. Nice. Nice. All right. Let's move on to my number 3. And it would be Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this might be surprising to most people why I picked Drax out of all the Guardians. People say, well, why didn't you pick Peter Quill? Or why wouldn't you pick Gamora or Rocket? First of all, I love Rocket. He's my favorite character in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he would probably be the worst one to hang out with because he will for sure sell you out at the drop of a hat. And Gamora would probably, like, I don't know, impale me for making some dumbass comment. Peter Quill, he's cool, but he's not as cool as Captain Kirk, and he's kind of a bit of an idiot. But the reason why I picked Drax is because Drax is a simple man, but he thinks a lot. And don't we all need kind of a friend like that? Someone who, you do the talking, and he's kind of like just your backup, your bodyguard. Because, despite being someone who takes everything literal and can be kind of annoying, he's your guy. He's got your back. Right? He's gonna be like your bodyguard. Zombie Bait said Quill is a tool. That's true. He did ruin everything in Infinity War. But I love Drax. Like, even his humor, even when he doesn't mean to be funny, he's hilarious. And honestly, who's better than that? Having a friend like Drax. It's because you would rather have Drax as a friend than have him as an enemy. And so that's
For sure.
that's for
He's
sure who I'd
like a
pick.
simple guy. He's a simple guy, but at the same time, like, he's passionate about shit. Where he's like,
Yeah,
if he's gonna go to war, he's gonna go to war. Like, he's gonna back you up. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
like, it's not. There's no. It's just black and white. Of like, if you're his friend and you're his homie, he's like, don't worry, I got you. Like, I'm gonna ride for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. He's got, what's the word I'm looking for? He's got principles.
Yeah, loyalty.
Yes.
All right. Let me hear your number 2.
All right. My number 2 is a Sailor Venus or Sailor V. And she's the character from Sailor Moon, I'm sure most of you know. And the reason why I didn't pick Sailor Moon is because Sailor V created it all. Sailor V started it all. She was the initial protagonist that was created, and then once her little comic strip was done, then it became Sailor Moon. But she's just so cool. And I mean, let's just admit, Sailor Moon's a crybaby. She was terrified of everything up until kind of like the end of the manga. And Sailor V she was always set to fight. She was always set to fight for love and freedom and power, and like she was just so cool. Like she wore those like really really neat like 90s fashion, like with the high tops and like the what are they called, the mom jeans, and she with her ribbon in her hair. Like, she seems like someone who'd be super cool, tell you what to wear, and just make you like feel good about yourself.
See, I see your points, right? Hear me out. But I like Sailor Moon because she is a doofus and a crybaby. That's what I like about her. Maybe because that appeals to a certain demographic. But I do like the doofusness of Sailor Moon. But honestly, if I had to pick a sailor to hang out with, for me, it would probably be. Oh no! Now I'm thinking about it. Okay.
They're just all really cool characters.
It's true. I like Sailor Jupiter, but I feel like she's also one that would like kick my ass for being a dumbass. I think if I had to pick, I think Sailor Mercury.
She's the most bland one.
What are you talking about? She's the smart, bookish one. She would be the balance to my bullshit.
Okay, I'll give you that. She's definitely the most level-headed.
Exactly. All right. Moving on to my number 2. My number 2 would be King Dedede from the Kirby series. Now, this might not be surprising to people who know me, but, well, first of all, y'all know I love Kirby. Well, why wouldn't you pick Kirby? Well, because he's going to eat everything. I wouldn't have a chance to eat anything. And King Dedede, even though he's just as greedy, I feel like me and King Dedede are very similar in nature. Because there is this picture of King Dedede. Hold on. I want to see if I could find it. Because I want to get the quote exactly right. Because we are very much almost the same person. Where he says, he says, the suffering of others is the most amusing thing there is. And I feel like me and King Dedede are very much the same. We're boastful, we're brash, we're just, we're over here just kind of greedy and selfish. We're both horrible people, and that's why I like King Dedede so much, because we would get along in our mutual complete BS. Nice Samantha says, "Have you ever seen Geo and Kirby in the same room?" Exactly. Right. But I love King Dedede because he's not like an evil guy. He's just kind of a selfish one, which I feel like I relate to this story, because if you've played Kirby Adventure 2, or Kirby's Adventure on the NES, the not the original game, but the second game in the series, the game starts off with King Dedede being the one to destroy the Dream Rod, and you think that he's the villain the whole game. And when you beat him at the quote unquote end of the game, he tells you not to put the Star Rod back together, and he tries to stop you. And Kirby's just like, "Get off me." Like, "No, I'm going to put this together because it took away everyone's dreams." But the reason he did that is because there was a nightmare beast hidden in the Star Rod. So you think he's being a villain, but actually, he's just a good guy. He's just misunderstood. And that's why I love King Dedede. He's one of my favorites.
I mean, there's not much else to say to that. Wow, stand-up guy.
I'm on my Kirby lore. All right, holla at me with your number 2.
Okay, so this is the only one.
Number 1. I'm sorry.
Number 1.
Yeah, this is the only one on our list that we actually agreed on. Not even just because, like, for example, yes, I think Mando's cool and R2 okay, but I think this is both one that once it was said, it was like, yes, hands down, 100% yes, on both sides. And so our number 1 is Invader Zim. Along with Gur.
Yeah, because Gur is like a complimentary like add-on.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, he's just the funniest little squirt ever. I think just watching him kind of hatch out his ideas and then fail miserably, and then Gur just like do his little happy dance, it would just be the most amusement, and it would just be a great old time.
Yeah, I would definitely like to hang out with those guys and just kind of go around doing whatever they're doing, knowing that none of it's going to work out in the end is like super funny to me. But it looks like we definitely have, I mean, you still need to reveal your number 1, but from so far, it looks like yours is like a group of the boys, and it looks like we're just a band of misfits. Like, how did this come together?
Okay, I see it. I don't know. Invader Zim, to me, he'd be a little bit too manic for my taste.
Too crazy?
Too crazy. Nah, I think that's where the amusement would come from. I think it's just because, like, at the end of the day, no matter what his ploy or plot is, no matter how big it seems, like, it's just going to fall through. So it's just like watching him get to that point, and then just for it to all unravel, it's like, oh, they're there.
Yeah. It's like watching a little dog kind of go crazy and like go on this spew, and it's just like, you're not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Like, relax. Like, I'm gonna laugh at you just because I know that you're harmless. You know
It's like
what I mean?
when our pups have like the zoomies and he just runs in circles. It's like, aw, so sweet.
All right, for sure, I see it. All right, so for my number 1, I kind of cheated. I put 2 characters at my number 1, but that's because, to me, in my opinion, they come as a package deal. Now, my number 1, it's a bit of a throwback. Josh, I doubt you've heard of these characters. Maybe you have, Jen. But my number 1 is Kione and Mihoshi from Tenchi Muyo. Now, those of you who know me, well, I almost fell. Those of you who know me know that I don't really talk to the police. Feel me? I'm not really someone who is a fan of the police. That, to me, we like to call them the op. That's the op. But you're talking about the Galaxy Police? That's a whole different story right there, right? In the fact that you tell me that I can kick it with Kione, who is, you think that she's the super serious, only cares about her job, like pretty much, space cop who's too serious for her own good. But when you actually get to know her, you find out that she's just someone who is always in crisis. She cares. She's just really deeply passionate about her job. She wants to protect people, even though she can be a little bit too stern. But you know that in reality, she's actually just depressed because she's never getting a promotion, which makes her more relatable. And then on the other side, you got Mihoshi, who is just this kind of ditzy, like kind of little, a little dumb, but she's just so adorable. And just the combination of the serious and the ditzy, and kicking it with those two, like yo, I wouldn't think of a better pair in space to hang out with. Like,
Honestly, I'm surprised that you went with those two because someone who is both serious and ditzy is Washu.
see, see, I like Washu, but like, I don't want to get like some experiment blowing up in my face. You feel me? And I don't want to be on the run from the police all the times.
That's true.
So definitely Keone and Mihoshi, definitely my two. And that way I get a 2-in-1 deal. So like if I feel like being like a dumbass, I go hang out with Mihoshi. And if I feel like getting shit done, I'd kick it with Keone. So like there's no better deal there. Zombie Bait said, sad that the OG Superman isn't on here. See, Superman, I like Superman, but to me, he's just too much of a Boy Scout.
We actually discussed Superman last night, the original Superman. But yeah, he pretty much turned it down.
Like lack of personality. I'm like,
Or Goku. That's what. Mikey said. Or Goku. Yeah, but Goku, all he wants to do is fight and train. And I'm a lazy motherfucker. I'd rather hang out with Majin Buu. Or I'd rather kick it with Bulma. You know what I'm saying?
No,
like
but
that,
then wouldn't Majin Buu turn into Cell? So that would be even more terrifying.
No. Majin Buu turns into Kid Buu, but Kid Buu got defeated, and now you just have the jolly, happy, fat Buu.
Oh, and then Buu turns into Cell.
No. Buu and Cell are not. The androids turn into Cell.
Oh, I'm confused then. I thought, well, I mean, I haven't seen Dragon Ball Z since I was little, but I thought that Buu turned into Cell.
They're completely separate arcs.
Oh my goodness. Well, so much for my mind.
It just reminds me of like, you know who Future is?
the rapper?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So Future has like this, like, you know, he's known for being a toxic person and a lot of misogyny and stuff. And so when the whole Will Smith and Jada thing happened, and someone like tweeted at him and was like, someone was like, "Oh, Future, Will Smith needs to hang out with Future," and Future tweeted back and was like, "I'd rather hang out with Jada, respectfully." It's kind of like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, why don't you hang out with Goku? It's like, oh, I'd rather hang out with Chi-Chi, respectfully. Or Bulma. But yeah. Anyways, all right, that is our top 5. Anybody else in the chat have any characters that they want to throw in? Let us know. I think we have a pretty good spread here as far as we got some anime, we got some Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, we got Nickelodeon, you know, we got I don't even know what we consider Little Prince. How old is that book?
It's from the 40s, I believe.
Okay, so we got some classic children's literature in there. So we got a nice little spread. I want to say it wasn't too heavy on, you know, one certain genre or topic or series. So good on us. Actually, you know what? I think I'll just have Mikey send me this list, and I'll publish it on our Instagram. So the people out there in the socials who didn't catch the show, they can see who we decided to pick. But anyway,
best team.
Was that?
Let them vote who had the better team.
Oh yeah, good idea. I mean, unfortunately, we're not Twitch affiliates, because if we were, we could have like a poll in the chat, and then we could do it from there. But we don't want to become slaves to the Twitch overlords. All right, so let's move on to our next big topic, and it is our 1v1 debate. Now, for this, the way it works is every week we have a question being posed, and me and either Mikey or our guest are going to debate on what side, or for our points on whatever side of the debate on the question that we fall on. So, before we go out, Nine Samantha says Duck Dodgers would be my first pick. Wacky Space Adventures with Daphne. Or with Daffy. Oh, nice. Nice. Daffy is kind of like I don't know, he's kind of a dumber. Yeah, he's likely to get you blown up as well. But we'll see. So Mikey, tell us what is our debate question for the week.
So, the question I have for you guys is: Are what is it? Are there no more original ideas in Hollywood anymore? What do you guys think?
All right, so I'm gonna let you start off, Josh and Jen. Let me know.
Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I think that's definitely one of those questions where you really have to dissect. And if you really think about it, like every idea has been told, every story has been told. But it just depends on how it's told that can be original. You know, there's just there's a main plot of, you know, good versus evil, etc. But it's how that story is told or how it kind of dissects. Well, is there a good and evil, etc., etc. So I definitely don't think that there's any shortage of ideas. I think that people, as long as they really take the time to sit and think through their film, there can be several original ideas.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like there are original ideas still in Hollywood because everyone has a view on certain kind of like with all the reboots, for example, everyone goes to that and says, "Oh, they're just remaking all this stuff, and it's just like a ploy to like it's a cash grab to get money." But when they're done right and they're done from a different perspective that make you think, I think I consider that an original idea. You know what I mean? They're getting you to think more about than just what was given to you at face value. They're getting you to think more beyond that and into a bigger scope of like, what would it look like if things were switched this way? Or what if it was from, the antagonist's point of view as opposed to the way that it was first fed to us? And to me, I think that creates more dialogue, it creates more conversations, and that leads to like better views on like understanding different perspectives.
Okay, fair enough. But
For
for
example,
me, I would disagree. I think there are no more original ideas in Hollywood because while you can say that there might be original stories out there and how it's told, but if we're looking at from the perspective of Hollywood, why do I have tape? From the perspective of Hollywood, is well, what's selling, right? Hollywood only cares about the bottom dollar. Like we can talk about creative freedom and ideas, but at the end of the day, a producer is looking for what is going to make the most money. So you see franchises like Fast and Furious, right? There is nothing new being told in that story. There is barely a story being told in those movies, right? It's just a bunch of cars started off racing and now they're jumping off, cliffs to like catch a helicopter. There's nothing being no original story being told there, but they're making 10 of them because they're selling. We talked about horror franchises and how stuff like The Conjuring, after a while, it gets stale, it gets boring. Why? Because it's still selling until it doesn't sell, and then all of a sudden, even if you have like a cliffhanger or untold story threads, it doesn't matter because it's no longer selling. Hollywood only cares about the bottom dollar, and that to me, that's why there are no more original stories. If you look at last year, Steven Spielberg remade West Side Story, which is a remake of a story that is just another telling of Romeo and Juliet. There are no more original stories in Hollywood. I don't know.
I mean, if we go based off of that, then there's no original stories anywhere. I mean, there are billions and billions of books out there that all have this similar storyline, but it's how the story is told that I think is really what matters. For example, we've seen so many war films. Um, um, Full Metal Jacket, I think that's one of them. The Pianist, Saving Private Ryan, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. There's so many war films out there about like let's just say World War II. But then look at what Taika Waititi put out in Jojo Rabbit. That's completely new. Like that was a completely new story, a completely new retelling, and it wasn't it was fiction, obviously. Like, was it like did that was actually based off of the truth? No, but it's still an enlightening, good story. And so I think that, if we really sit there and say like Romeo and Juliet has been pushed out every which way, yes, it has. Like that's just like same thing with like Pride and Prejudice. There's been so many like lover or hate to lovers. But I mean, it's just how the story is told. And as long as it keeps it engaging, I mean, yes, of course, there's going to be times where producers just want to give you shit. Like just throw it out there just so I can make money. But I mean, every once in a while you get those gems. So I mean, it's not dead.
Yeah, I think that you can use the same like recipe in different situations and still have a good amount of success because it's like, what kind of actors are you using? What kind of characters are you using? Like a good example is like we talked earlier about Halo and how Mandalorian kind of set like this is setting this foundation of like what a good storyline can be. And you have Halo coming out, and while other people may say, "Oh, you're just copying" or whatever the case may be, like there's a good amount of fan base that's like they're just excited because of the character themselves. For it to be like it's Halo, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's Master Chief, like that coming together is like it could be the same structure, it could be the same kind of storyline and development, but people are excited because of who's in the movie or the show and who's playing those characters. And I
Well,
think
the
that's where
story,
it's like,
even though, sorry to cut you off, but even the stories that you're told, I mean, like let's see it like physiologically. I'm just gonna like branch out a little bit, but we all have the same skeleton, right? All of our skeleton is the same, but it's the outside that is really important. Like our mind is different, our bodies are different. That's what makes us unique. And in that same way, I think we can really relate to Hollywood or like the films that are made or produced by Hollywood. It's like they have the same skeleton, but it's what's on the outside. It's what is thought of that makes it different and unique and good.
yeah. And I think that there's still some movies that stray away from like doing these reboots in a different fashion and still having success, like Quentin Tarantino, like his movies, you know what I mean? It was just like not too long ago, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, and it's just like those are original ideas. Those are original ideas that came out, and they're successful in theaters. You know what I mean?
Was it really an original idea Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Because it was based off the Charles Manson murders. But even then, what story was in that movie to begin with? That's just my personal thing about that movie. I
The way that they tell the story, though, like for them to come up with like their own kind of version of like what happened during that time, knowing that it's not like completely accurate, like is his own storytelling ability.
But I think, okay, I will concede the point of view, something like someone like Taika Waititi, but that the only reason why, well, one, like if you've seen his earlier movies, I think those are very original. Well, not original stories, but Boy was a good story, but it wasn't very original. But I would say Hunt for the Wilder People were, but that's because he made it outside of the context of Hollywood. He made it with his in New Zealand, in his home country. Now, Jojo Rabbit is a Hollywood movie, but I think the only reason why he was able to make that was because of how successful he was with Thor Ragnarok. If we're talking about the greater stories, right? Yes, there probably are something that is, an original spin on something. But we're talking about the context of Hollywood, to where yes, we have the occasional anomaly, because those are always going to happen. But at the end of the day, Hollywood only cares about the bottom dollar. That's why the movies that we see that are getting picked up and created are not the only original ones. We're just seeing all these things that are just cut and paste. And I think people are starting to notice that. What the hell was that?
I think so. Like, okay, so I get what you're saying, and like for sure, Hollywood's like all about a cash grab, and they're just trying to make money. But at that same sense, like, look at what they did with the Spider-Man movie that just came out. Like, there's some portions where they're giving the fans what they want and thinking like, oh, this is just a cash grab, but like, it's a cash grab, but it's a cash grab that like I'm willing to participate in because they're giving me what I want in that sense. You know what I mean?
And
Yeah,
I
but
think,
Marvel. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, and I mean, this is actually completely based, like, not on that. So if you want to go ahead, just rebuttal.
I was gonna say Marvel is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. It's it's not an original idea. And if you notice that even like the Spider-Man movie did do something a little bit different, it's just playing that movie plays into nostalgia because it uses old movies. It's not an original idea. It uses ideas from the past.
It's taking characters from the past, but that's definitely an original idea of how that movie came together. Yeah, like the storyline and everything. I would have never thought that that kind of movie would be coming together 4 or 5 years ago. Like, and it would be some once like everything started leaking, like it was something where I was like, man, if this is real and this is true, like when this comes out, this is gonna be something that I really, really want. You know what I mean? Because they're using characters from an older movie, but it's not like they're continuing that same storyline from that older movie or retelling.
But they
this-
are essentially.
But they're
It is
not.
essentially a sequel to all of the ends of those movies.
It's like they're it's because of like I said earlier, they're using the characters that we created a relationship with to put back in these movies, but it's a whole new spin on like how they're telling the story. I mean, I don't know about you, but me personally, like sitting down watching that new Spider-Man movie, I would not have been able to tell you at the beginning of the movie this is how it's going to play out. And I think that some movies you can do that because you're like, oh, like I already know what's gonna happen. The guy's gonna get the girl at the end, and it's gonna go like this. Like, there's no way that I could have called the ending to Spider-Man before watching it.
But but oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead, continue, because this is not to do with Spider-Man.
Okay, I was just gonna say, well, the only reason why we have this is because Marvel has been set up to be this like 30 picture extravaganza that is still going and going and going. You don't just, it's something that it's not an original idea because also it is something that was a successful property before it was movies. So,
Yeah.
I know went bankrupt, but okay.
For me,
That
I
was a
think
comment.
it's more like I understand that old Hollywood, that version of old Hollywood that is still tethered to profit over ideas is definitely something that hinders the quality of films and new ideas. Although I wouldn't go as far to say that all of Hollywood is like that, just because there are other films that are being pushed out. For example, like Netflix, I would say that Netflix would be on the same level as Hollywood style or status films. Like, for example, Tick Tick Boom. I mean, it's not an original idea per se because it was a Broadway show, but it is new to film. And in that sense, it brings out a new idea. Like, yes, it's the same old story of somebody overcoming, like, and being told that they weren't good enough. But that's the thing is that there's always one story that's already played out. There's already one story that's already been told. It's how you create like, or how you provide more support or tell a different story using different characters. You know what I'm trying to say? Because if we really want to go to that, like literally every story has been told since the dawn of time. Like, if we can go look at the books from the 300s and like what's his name, Christian Andersen, the one who created like all of those, or the Grimm brothers stories. Like, they've all already been told, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't new ideas that can come from those bones.
Yeah. And Gio, what was wasn't that like it was probably a while ago? But the girl from Queen's Gambit, didn't you watch a movie about her recently that you're like, this is one of the best movies that you've seen in a while?
Taylor Joy or something like that.
Last Night in Soho.
Yeah.
All
Was
right.
that original? Was that original?
All right, fucker, you got me on that one.
Okay.
But I think, like I said, there's always going to be anomalies, and I think what my greater point is, what I'm saying is that I think Hollywood cares more about what will be what will reach, and it's always, this is kind of an obvious point, but Hollywood only cares about what is going to reach the mass audiences, and things that are a little bit more niche and a little bit more original don't seem to get picked up by big Hollywood, so they have to go outside and get funding from other sources.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
they are a cash grab and they are trying to make money at the end of the day. I think it's just like where you as a viewer choose to invest your stocks is where it's like you're going to be able to see this is something I support, this is something I like. And maybe you like the way that a story's been told before, but you just like the way that it's done this time with specific actors. Or maybe you like something that's totally different that's still coming out because it's original. Like Don't Look Up, you know what I mean? Like there's just different movies that kind of come out that grab you, and they're anomalies. But at the same time, if you have more than a few of them keep happening, then something that was supposed to be infrequent becomes frequent, and then here we are having a discussion of like, okay, there are still a lot of original ideas out there.
And on that same note, it's also like there are anomalies, and those anomalies come to fruition and are put out there because of the viewers. So Taika Waititi may have started small with, the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows, but look at what We Do in the Shadows is now. Like it's a show like on FX, and it's doing great. And he was able to make more films and able to become in a place where he can have a wider audience because of his initial success. I mean, everybody starts off small, everybody starts off somewhere, but if more people garner those or bring up those people who have those creative ideas, who are creative geniuses, then we'll only experience more.
Yeah. I feel like a lot more people want to work with Taika now than they did before, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Well then, anyways, with that, let's wrap this up. Thank you all. Let us know in the chat. What do y'all think? Do you agree with me, or do you agree more with Josh and Jen? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know in the chat. And like always, let's wrap this up. And this comes to the end of our show. So, Mikey, why don't you close us out?
Oh, okay. So, if you guys liked the show and what we do here, please give us a follow on our socials on Instagram, Twitter, and you can support us on Patreon, where we have 3 tiers. And like we said or announced earlier, since we are a video podcast, we didn't have an audio podcast. Now we do. You can catch us on Spotify and Stitcher. Currently working on iTunes and Google Music. And so you aren't able to catch us live on either Twitch or YouTube. You can find us on those platforms as well. And I want to give a special thanks to our last minute guest who came in super clutch, Josh and Jennifer. And yeah, and so, is there anywhere we can find your guys' work? Or any online if you guys want to share?
I am no longer on social media on Instagram, and I'm going on a little bit of a social media ban. So
Nice.
I have nothing.
Yeah, same. We're just happy to join the show.
Yeah.
Like it really is fun to do, to have the discussions and stuff, and really kind of just get conversations going. So not so much a plug, but definitely like excited to keep watching you guys' show. And if you guys ever need another stand-in, like just shoot us a text. We'll step in.
It's always a pleasure to talk to both of you and to get engaged with your audience. Everybody seems really level-headed, really has great opinions. So thank you.
All right, and yeah, so thanks again. And for everyone else, we'll see you guys next. Well, if you want to stay tuned for the post show. Just stick around for a little bit. But for the audio, what?
I was gonna say, are y'all gonna stick for the post show, or do you have to cut?
We're free.
Chill.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. So for people, audio listeners on Spotify and Stitcher, you guys will be missing on the post show because you aren't watching live. But if you are watching live, we'll be streaming currently on YouTube and Twitch. So stick around for that. And if not, we will see you guys again next week on Saturdays at 11 a.m. PST. And if not, I think I'm going to be trying to upload today's episode tomorrow on Spotify. So look out on our socials for that. And then, so until then, I am Mikey, along with
Good boy, Geo Huey Flow,
and
Joshua and Jen.
and we will see you guys in a little bit or next week. And so,
1 minute.
alrighty then. See you guys.
Later.
Yo, what up, everyone? Welcome to the 1v1 show post show. This is where me, Mikey, and occasionally our guests just come in and just talk about we just kind of we just hang around the water cooler and just talk about whatever. No real like stories or anything, but this is more of a free flowing, just casual conversation. So let's start off with what y'all eating on? What y'all munching on over there?
Kimchi. I'm just kidding. It's nice
nice.
coffee.
I made myself a bowl of porridge.
I got me Oreos.
You have what? What kind of Oreos?
Oreos it's Oreos 110th birthday edition of Oreos, which is a chocolate confetti cake with sprinkles on top of and
Have you tried
the cream.
carrot cake?
Which one?
The carrot cake Oreos?
No.
Yo, those are good.
Really?
Good.
Wait, I
Interesting.
just have to backtrack. Oreos have been around for 110 years.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That was great. And also, I have another set of Oreos. I have the coconut, caramel coconut, which is pretty much the Girl Scout cookies, Samoas, but in Oreos.
Yes.
Those are top tier Oreos. Just saying.
Did you ever get those the Pokemon Oreos that had like the prints of like?
Oh, I forgot. Just bring. Yes. I have an Oreo to show you guys. BRB. Yeah, go on.
So
Talk
there's this YouTube group that I watch called Kind of Funny. They do like video game content, but also they do like some entertainment, movie, and just like casual life stuff. And they had a show on their channel called Oreo Oration, where one of the hosts would go and like rate the Oreos and how good they were, how good the flavors were. I never knew how many flavors of Oreos there actually were.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I want to say, wasn't there like a pistachio Oreo at some point? I want
I wouldn't be
to
surprised.
say there was, and I honestly, I believe it was either pistachio or something green. It wasn't the mint though, but I was obsessed with them, and everybody around me hated them. They thought they were super gross, but I liked
Okay, I
them.
can't find it, but
Yeah, I'm always down to try like the different variations that come out.
Mhm.
But staple Oreos, I feel like I'm definitely more of like the golden Oreos fan than like versus regular.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of double stuffed either.
Ah, those are the best.
those are what should be the original Oreos.
Josh, what's wrong with you? How'd you like three different names?
But
Like
like
Joe, John,
Oreo,
Josh.
right? Oreo McFlurries, top notch.
Yeah, like
Those machines aren't broken.
when those
though.
when the machines work. Like I
Yeah.
say.
Have you seen the meme that it's like someone at a McDonald's like interview? It's like, what do you say when people ask for a McFlurry? Machine's broken. You're hired.
Right. I tried doing that at Jack in the Box. I was like, can I get an Oreo shake? Because they have Oreo shakes. Because I was like, I'm not going to get a McFlurry at McDonald's. I was like, I'm not going to just try to attempt to get a McFlurry because it's probably going to be broken. But Jack in the Box, I never had that problem. But until last time, I was like, hey, can I get an Oreo shake? And sorry, machine's broken, like immediately. And I was like, dang.
They're learning their ways.
And I was like, they're adapting.
You know, with the places that have an Oreo shake, do they have one at Wendy's?
No, you don't have
I think
Frosties,
Wendy's is
vanilla,
just
and
Frosty.
chocolate.
I think Sonic might have one.
Sonic,
they do. They do.
Might
You
have
could put-
Oreo.
Candies in there, I think, too.
I think Carl's Jr. has Oreo.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
What's the best like fast food shake?
Oh,
Shake Shack.
I've never been to Shake Shack.
Same.
What?
Okay, I think
Yeah.
we should specify fast food is like staple chains, like Wendy's, Jack in the Box, McDonald's, Carl's Jr.
I'm gonna have to go with the Frosty. Wendy's Frosty.
Just simple.
Yeah, like can't go wrong with that.
What about In and Out?
I like the
I was
In-N-Out.
thinking about that.
I like the Neapolitan shake.
I just like the classic vanilla one from In and Out. It's just there. I don't know why. It's just vanilla
Yeah.
ice cream, but it hits different.
I
I
want
think
shake.
In-N-Out's good, but I feel like I have to drink it like right away. I feel like
That's
it melts
true.
way too fast.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's how the Frosties are from Wendy's.
Gio, why
Frosties is more like a soft serve, isn't it?
is it?
What's up?
Oh yeah, why is Sonic a touchy subject for you?
No, I just said that because Sonic's is actually farther. We don't have one in town.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mm.
I don't think I have a Sonic story. Do I? I do, but
do.
it's not a zombie bait. This motherfucker. It's because
So
one
there
time
is.
me and two of my friends went to Sonic's, and they know I love Sonic's, and they're kind of just like, we'll just go. And so I got out the car to order, and they proceeded to drive the car, leave Sonic's. It just left me there while they went to Wendy's.
Oh, no.
Motherfuckers.
So back in college, when I was going to Solano, they had there weren't any Sonics. Like I think now there's one in Vacaville, but before there was only that one in American Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Anthony and I had just beat Twilight Princess, and I was obsessed with the Hyrule field theme because it's just so epic. And so I downloaded onto a CD. And so after school, like after class, my friend Anthony and I would drive to Sonic while blasting Hyrule Field theme in my car, and we would just like be like so excited and hyped for it. Great memories.
I remember Sonic did. I don't know if they still do it, but they did like a big box of like tater tots, and it was a good sized box, and it was like just filled to the brim with tater tots. And I remember I was gonna go meet up with friends like to go bowling or something, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna take some tater tots." And like I walk in, and this like little man like taps me on the shoulder, is like, "You can't bring any outside food." And I'm like, "It's a whole box of tater tots, dude. Like, what am I supposed to do with it?" And he's like, "You can't bring it in." I'm like, "All right." I went to the car and I like shoveled down an entire box of tater tots in my mouth, and then finished it and went on and did some bowling. So
Reasons why I love him.
I don't think
Was this a Stars?
anymore.
Josh?
What?
Was this at Stars?
Yeah.
I would have just pushed him out the way.
I literally
Fuck that
didn't
old
even,
man.
like, I'm not the tallest person. Like, I'm like 6 foot, but like I was walking, I really didn't even see him, and because I guess he like was talking to me, and then he tapped me on like my like shoulder, and he's like, "You can't have that." I was like, "Okay," but I was like in mid conversation with my friends, like, "Dude, like, fucking, what am I supposed to do with this box of tater?" And of course, like at that point, all my friends were like, "Oh, I don't really want tater tots." I'm like, "Well," I was like, "I'm about to finish this by myself then."
Did he know?
I remember we went to
Oh.
when it was on a time we were going to watch the Spider-Man film, the new one, and we were like everybody else were smuggling in food, but the people in front of us, the couple in front of us, like were blatantly like had their bag of food like visible, and the lady who was taking their ticket, she goes, "You have to hide that. Just put it in your jacket," and they're like, "Okay." I'm like, so you always get those cool people from the theaters who are like, okay, just be more low key.
Zombie Bait in the chat says, "Did you know that Sonic onion rings are dipped in vanilla soft serve before deep frying?" What? Sounds
No.
amazing.
What?
I don't think I've ever had their onion rings.
Really?
I love their mozzarella sticks though.
Yo, this is a prime example of me being hella fat. But one time, me and my friend went to Sonic's, and I ordered like $20 worth of food. And if you know Sonic prices, you know that's a lot of food. And so after my whole order, the girl says, "Would you like mozzarella sticks with that?" And I was like, "Fuck, I do." All right, I'll take some. Like, damn.
She's just like adding it on. She's like, why not?
Damn.
By the way, for anyone who was sticking around afterward, like I don't know if like I can say this now, but I was moving a lot throughout the entire show, and I apologize in advance, or I apologize now, but like my dog kept like nudging me, and I was trying really hard to just be like, I'm still move him away.
Oh, I didn't even tell.
Okay, cool.
Oh, by the way, Gio, did you like how I was like putting in like random factoids of like?
Yeah,
stuff?
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
It keeps the chat moving.
yeah. I was thinking like trying to do it like a pop-up video type of thing. Do you remember that back in the day on VH1?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
no,
was trying to like
I really,
have facts like that.
I appreciate them. Like I know, like I would read them, and then like they would be talking, and I would read what you were typing, and I think I would just like cackle a little bit because some of them were hilarious.
Yeah, especially like if there's like it just helps like continue like good talking points.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so yeah,
Although
we're
I would,
learning here at the
Oh,
1v1
wow.
show.
What y'all about to do today? Y'all got any plans?
I've honestly for the past week I've been nonstop playing Legends. Okay, do you call it Arceus or Arceus?
I think I say Arceus.
I say Arceus too, but apparently we've been saying it wrong because apparently it's Arceus, and I had no
What?
idea.
So apparently, like people have said that they've heard it from official sources said both ways, so no one really knows.
Oh,
What it
okay,
is.
okay.
So that's just a
Did
made
you
up
get
word?
it, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, Arceus is or Arceus or whatever you want to call it. What was I gonna say? It's a Pokemon. It's a Pokemon name. I don't know why it took me so long to think of that.
I was like, okay.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing is nonstop playing Arceus or Legends, and so I'll probably continue through that until this weekend because I can't put it down. Like it's so engaging.
Is it now? See, I just bought it yesterday, but I'm probably not gonna play it for a while because I'm in the middle of a game right now.
Which one?
Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Still?
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
So I'm in the middle of that, and it's what honestly, like I was telling some of my friends that it's very kind of Pokemon adjacent, except instead of Pokemon, it's demons, but the battle style is almost the same. And it's still you go around and collecting demons, and you instead of like catching them like a Pokemon, you have to negotiate with them, where you talk to them and you have to say the things that make them happy, and then they'll be like, "All right, well, give me some money, or give me some of your health, or give me some of your magic points, and then I'll join your team." And then you can like fuse them and create new demons. I enjoy it a lot.
That sounds like Yokai Watch. you just described Yokai Watch.
No, kind of, but like Shin Megami Tensei is definitely not for kids because it talks a lot about like good versus evil. Like in the older games, like the main villain is Lucifer, literally Lucifer.
Mm.
Like it's not like not like a little like cutesy demon. It's like no, this is Lucifer, or you like fight and kill God. Like you can join the chaos side or the order side. So you're either on the side of the demons or on the side of the angels. So there's some biblical stuff. There's a lot of like talking about like morality and death and like stuff like that. So it's like maybe like an adult yokai watch. Let's say that.
Sound like y'all need Jesus. Says 3 shots. Okay.
Sounds like y'all need Jesus. Kettle One. You know what? Why don't you just take some time to think about your past, like your New Year's Day? All right, let's just leave it at that.
Sounds like a story.
Oh yeah. But anyways, have you guys seen the latest? I'm going to talk Star Wars spoilers. Have you guys seen the latest Book of Boba Fett episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I was watching that show like religiously when it came out, and she literally just hopped in like the last 2 episodes
Perfect timing.
because Mando came back.
I would just get I mean, we live in a studio apartment, so it's like hard to not kind of glance at what he's watching. But like there would just be parts of the Book of Boba Fett's first few chapters or episodes that I just did not appeal to me. And it was actually really surprising because I read, like, when I was looking at the end credits, it said that Robert Rodriguez was the director. And I was like, well, really? Like, I like Robert Rodriguez, but these are just, ugh.
Yeah, like, I liked what they did with the spoilers for Book of Boba Fett. So if you haven't seen it and want to keep your experience pure, I advise you to leave now. Because spoilers for Book of Boba Fett, I really liked what they did with the Tusken Raiders, and then they just threw that away. I was like, what the heck? Like I was really like I wanted to learn more about the Sand, like their culture and stuff. And then also we never got to see Boba Fett, right? The Krayt Dragon.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
still
there
waiting
are a
on
lot
that.
of parts where I'm like, what is going on? Like part of the show, like I'm like, okay, they're giving like more of a background of what happened after like he like
Mhm.
more or less came back to life, right? I'm like, cool, like this is cool. And then it started drifting in a way where I'm like, they're making me feel like Boba Fett's like not this badass like character. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
has he gone soft? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It was like a little bit about peace and like this and that, and it's just like I don't know. Like, it kind of lost me a little bit. And then when Mandalorian came back and everything, I was like, okay, like this is good. And this last episode, like one of the lines that was said is like, kind of don't be fooled. Like Boba Fett's like a cold-blooded killer, and I'm like,
Mhm.
he is, but like they just haven't really seen much of that lately. And like, I don't know, kind of, I don't know. Like I feel different about it.
How did you feel about the not this last episode, but the one before, where it's just straight up this Mando laying in the show called Book of Boba Fett? Did that bother?
Yeah,
It didn't.
I
For
mean,
me, I don't think it bothered me that much because I was like, okay, I feel like there's a reason why Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau titled it Book of Boba Fett, and then I seen the argument where like, okay, well it's like a book, so this chapter is just like one of those random chapters that don't really like seem like they have to do anything with the current story, but it eventually ties in. And I think we saw a little bit with that in the last episode. But how did you feel when you first saw that?
yeah, I think that like for me, I felt that it was almost like a standalone episode of just Mandalorian, almost
Mm-hmm.
as if like it's an intro going back into the Mandalorian series. I think that like they introduced Book of Boba Fett obviously after
Mm-hmm.
like the second season of Mandalorian, and I feel like they had enough content where they're like, okay, we're gonna give the fans what they want of like Boba Fett coming back and like just seeing how he's doing or whatever happened after the pit,
Yeah.
And I feel like they almost couldn't come up with enough content to where they're like, okay, we'll just use like the last bit of the Book of Boba Fett to segue into the new season of Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's what kind of confused me because I was like, all right, well, since it's like a spin-off, I guess I don't have to watch this show, but like of course going to watch the show because it's Star Wars. But then those episodes like, okay, no, this show is required watching if you're a Star Wars fan because those events in the previous episode and the last episode are like too big to ignore. And then like
Yeah,
and then so let's move on to that last episode, like the one that just aired, the penultimate episode. Okay, so there are 9 episodes of Star Wars movies, right? And each of them being over 2 hours long. In my opinion,
yeah,
I think that last episode is like up there, maybe with the top 10, top 15 hours of most important Star Wars, like hours, the most important hours of Star Wars history. Because a lot that was happening in that episode, and it's like tying in. It it can reference the prequels, the originals, the sequels, and then reference the Clone Wars, the Rebels show, and in the Mandalorian show, and it brought it all the way back to Boba Fett. And I was like, wow, all within 45 minutes, and it's very. I
yeah,
thought it was very masterfully done by Dave Filoni. Like, I know Ryan Johnson has a trilogy, a Star Wars trilogy. Like they gave him uh rights to have a Star Wars trilogy. I actually like him as a director and all, but I would not be mad if they took that trilogy away from him and gave it to Dave Filoni because I want a Dave Filoni Star Wars trilogy like ASAP. Because if he can do that within 45 minutes, what can he do in a 2-hour movie or more or in a trilogy? I want to see it.
yeah, for sure. I think like he just did such a good job of like exploring those questions that I think everyone has. Like after the original trilogy, you're kind of
Mhm.
like, what does Luke do? Like what's in between this and the Force Awakens? What's you know what I mean? Like what's happening in between all that? And like the fact that in one episode they're able to kind of give us glimpses of like what was going on kind of makes me feel like, damn, this is a story that I want to know about. But it was weird though that like Boba Fett, not this last episode, but the episode before, Boba Fett wasn't even in that episode.
Yeah.
And then the one that just came out, like he's literally like there but doesn't say anything. So it's like,
I'm reading that
I
comment
don't
that
know.
says Boba Fett should have been enslaving and banging broads. I honestly, I wonder though if the reason why it's going a little bit differently than Star Wars fans wanted it to is because Boba Fett is old. I mean, he's not a spring chicken anymore, and maybe they're like kind of giving you that like, hey, this is how he's winding down. This is how you thought his story is over. It's not, but maybe he's transitioning the role of who is supposed to be in, like, you know, doing like all this cool badass stuff to Mandalorian.
The
I-
Mandalorian's gonna be enslaving people.
well, I mean, he is trying to be like the king of the Mandalorian people, isn't he? Like, I don't know.
Ooh, I have a theory.
With dark saber or whatever it's called.
But before we get to that, what do you guys think about the Luke's thing? Like, he did not only just have I thought he was gonna have gestures and nothing else, but he not only had a whole scene, but he was having conversations. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was so cool. Just because like they made it look so realistic. I mean, there were certain parts where it was just like, okay, that I can see it's a little bit overdone, but you know, in those scenes where it's more darker or like a darker and the lighting was just, it was perfect. It actually, I think he only pointed out one part where like his lip would like protrude sometimes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like that, like I said, to have that dialogue and like to just get more of like what that character was like after the original trilogy, like is what I wanted to see. You know, I've always wondered like what the hell happened between that time. And then like all the different movie references, like you see like the academy being put together and built.
Dude.
Like, oh shit, it's like later on in the movie, you know what I mean? Like that's where he's gonna train Ben at like down the line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's interesting to see. And then like obviously there's like storyline between this last episode and like the movie kind of coming out. So you're kind of trying to piece together what's gonna happen next. Yeah. Like is there enough time in between for them to like fit in, let's say, another season of Mandalorian and then that leading to like a movie that all happens before The Force Awakens? Like, is that possible? Like, I don't know.
So
a question, like Penny, for your thoughts though, you know, because Luke in that episode had said, you know, pretty much like the way of the Jedi is you can't love, and we all know this, like no extreme like emotions or whatever, but based off of the Jedi you guys have seen in all the films and TV shows, etc., do you think there's any Jedi who truly masters the Jedi way?
Oh, like that's a kind of a hard question to answer because there's no like specific one way to Jedi. But if I had to pick, it would be Qui-Gon because he didn't really follow the Jedi Order because they used the Jedi Order in his view were like they were being too I don't know the keyword I'm looking for, pragmatic. No, being too all upon like abiding by the rules, like the ways, and then and I think Luke in this episode is trying to do it that same way, but I think with at the end of the episode maybe Luke is starting to see like, okay, maybe like there can be some flexibility, but we don't know yet.
But, like, at the end, like where he's trying to tell him like you can only choose this or that, and the fact that they like keep Mandalorian like away from him and stuff like that, like I don't know, it just makes me wonder like are they just doing that as like precautionary because the last time someone like was a Jedi that was like in love with someone, Darth Vader happened, like is that like after that instance they're kind of like, all right, new rule, like you're not allowed to be close to anyone because you'll fucking go ape shit and like.
I mean, look at Luke. He has a love for Leia, like a brotherly bond for Leia. I mean, it's relevant. It's right there in the original films.
Yeah, but he doesn't have love
and that love is what.
Love interest, but in the same way, neither does I keep calling him Baby Yoda. Grogu. Grogu doesn't have, like, he's not in love with the Mandalorian. Yeah. He just has a love and a bond in the same way that Luke and Leia had a love and a bond.
Mhm.
So is Luke kind of being a hypocrite by saying you can only choose one?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then what's it called? I forgot. Oh, and another thing. Have you guys seen the Clone Wars?
No.
Well,
The animated.
no.
Okay, because well, another thing that blew my mind with this episode, was seeing Ahsoka and R2D2 in live action interact with each other. That has been one of those like, fan dream, like the moments that fans would dream of, and we saw it happen. And not only that, we also saw Ahsoka and Luke on screen together and having a conversation, talking about Anakin. That blew my mind, and yeah, I was cheesing really hard, and the episode didn't even stop there. So, what did you guys think about the stranger in the desert?
Oh wow, he was a badass. I mean, I don't know his character. Like, he was excited for it as soon as he saw like the outline or whatever, but I had no idea who he was. So like, you just see the bottom of his face, and then like as soon as he like looks up, you're like, whoa, did not expect that one.
Yeah, I thought it was cool because like he does kind of point out facts of like, yeah, we're trying to like run spice and do this stuff, but at the same time, like, you got to know who you're playing ball with, and like Boba Fett's like a bad dude. Like, regardless of how soft he may be now or like how different he's trying to approach things, like that doesn't change the fact that like the dude was like a badass bounty hunter who like did what he had to do. Like, granted, it was his job, but it's just like, know that like there's dirty hands on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of laying it out there. I was like,
Are you familiar with the Cad Bane's history?
No.
All right, I get to nerd out. So, Cad Bane, he was one of the was a bounty hunter during the time Jango Fett was alive, and while Jango Fett was alive, Cad Bane was the second best bounty hunter in the galaxy because Jango Fett was the best. And then so Cad Bane's been around for a while. Like, he's been working for like the scum lords or in the galaxy. And then during the Clone Wars, we're introduced to him in the Clone Wars, and he's pretty much just as badass, pretty much everything that we expected Boba Fett to be. And in the Clone Wars, they didn't air this episode, but in Boba Fett's helmet, there's a big dent on the forehead. So that occurred during a duel between Boba Fett and Cad Bane, where they dueled each other, and it was a draw because they both got each other, and that dent was from Cad Bane's blaster, and it dented his.
Why? Oh, sorry.
It dented his Mandalorian helmet.
Yeah. So in the end credits of this past episode, it shows like a storyboard or something where they're pointing at his helmet, his dented helmet. And so like I maybe that's like supposed to pay homage to like what you had said about their duel.
And then so which makes me think, like, okay, since that didn't even air, but they're showing that thing, I was like, maybe that is canon. And so like I'm speaking of it out like it is canon. And then another thing with Cad Bane, whatchamacallit? I think what Cad Bane represents is like what Boba Fett could have been, or like if he still went on that route. And so I think we're gonna see. You look like okay, yeah, in the chat. So I think we're gonna see in the finale Boba Fett versus Cad Bane, and we might see that duel finally, but in live action, in a different way. And also another thing. Cobb Vanth, that character that had a duel with Cad Bane, he's from the books. Like, he was first introduced in the book. So that episode, not only it referenced pretty much all forms of Star Wars media in one episode, and then that one Wookiee character, like the bounty hunter, who was like black and gray fur, he was introduced in the comics. So, dude, like, yeah, that episode had representation from every piece of Star Wars media, like from books, comics, TV shows, and movies. It was masterfully done. But yeah, that's just Star Wars.
Yeah,
right.
I think Star Wars does a good job when they kind of set it up to be like, I like Jedi's and lightsabers and stuff like that, but I think when they set Star Wars up to be like a Western kind of like feel and vibe, but in space, like I think that's where like they do a good job. 'Cause I like to see like it's just like bullies and badasses, like just like taking claims and taking territories and like battling it out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
As opposed to like it being like a love story or something like that.
What's the quote? Kicking names and taking ass.
All right, so let me just
Yeah,
close out this topic with my theory of what's going to happen. So I think what they're doing with the Star Wars TV shows is what Netflix did with the Defenders. They had all these like separate shows, and it's all going to culminate into one big battle. And I think that one big battle is going to be over Mandalore, because Mandalore doesn't have a ruler right now. And we last saw Bo-Katan. She was really salty that she didn't get the Darksaber, and then so yeah, I think we're going to see her again, and then I think it's going to be like a battle over Mandalore, and with Thrawn involved, because Ahsoka is currently looking for Thrawn in this point in the timeline. So I think we're gonna have like a big Defenders style like culmination of all these shows, and then and also with this last episode, I think what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are trying to fix the sequels, because what they did with Luke and Grogu says so much for the potential of the future of Star Wars, because young Luke doesn't exist, Grogu doesn't exist, but yet they had a scene where it's like touching on your heartstrings, and it was like really, really heartfelt. It was so good. And then so I think the future of Star Wars looks really bright and exciting. And as you can tell, I'm nerding out here.
What do you think, Gio?
Yeah, when are you gonna watch Star Wars?
I don't care. This all seems really like interesting and stuff, but like I've just never watched the spin-offs of Star Wars. I've just seen the core 9 movies. And it's an interesting. It's definitely for sure an interesting universe, and all the different stuff in there. And then occasionally I'll come across something and I'll ask Mikey about it. But I'm not invested enough to really just, I didn't watch The Mandalorian. I didn't watch Clone Wars. It's not that I just have, there's just other stuff that I would rather watch or play or see. But I do think that if I was in the Star Wars universe, I would have the Darksaber. So that's all I know.
It's 2 mains. I mean, and also people were complaining about this latest episode. I was like, man, Star Wars fans stay complaining about Star Wars. No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
I thought the last episode was pretty good. Like I thought it was just as good as the episode before. I think those kind of episodes definitely, like you said earlier, like make me restore faith that like they could still push out some good stuff, some good content, and like there's somewhere in there where like they could squeeze out a movie for sure.
Yeah. All right. Move on. We'll move away from Star Wars so we can include Gio in the conversation.
You know what I've been watching? You know what I've been watching lately? I've been watching a lot of Conan O'Brien clips, and there's a bit with him and his executive or associate producer, like Jordan Schlansky, where they just go to Italy, and there's just it's just a cut of like them walking through Italy, and Jordan Schlansky is just talking about stuff, and Conan is just there looking like miserable walking, and that's how I feel. That's conversation, just like, all right.
Speaking of Conan O'Brien, have you seen his bits where he's like, it's called like the Bad Gamer or something?
Yeah.
I think those are so funny.
I always feel bad for the guy that's helping him during those, and he's just like, you're a nerd, fucking loser.
But that's definitely Conan O'Brien's type of humor. He's very like disrespectful and rude, and he knows it, and that's what people find so funny about it. Yeah,
He's my favorite late night host. Probably always will be.
It's just crazy how he's like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, he's hella tall apparently.
no way.
Yeah, the freakishly like large redhead
He's just so
coming
funny.
around.
I listened to Smartless, the podcast with Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Will. Oh, I can't think.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sorry. What is
the
it?
rest of development people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So one episode had Conan O'Brien on it. Oh, Sean Hayes. There we go. And one of the episodes had Conan, and I think that's like the first time I actually appreciated the type of humor Conan has, just because I'd never really seen his late night before. But I'd like Clueless Gamer was the only thing I'd ever like kind of watched. But he was just telling these like just hilarious stories, and he said at one point, he was like, some people love my humor. It's like there's no in between. You either love it or you hate it, because I guess one time like he trash mouthed like an Olympian, like a girl, like, and she knew like it was funny, but like it was a joke, but like everybody else just kind of like gave him so much shit for it because she is like this American sweetheart. And he was like, that's just my humor. Like I just shit talk everybody.
Yeah, I love Conan. In fact, one of my earliest memories. Oh, okay, not earliest memories, but what a core memory that I have is why I love Conan so much is my mom got into a bad car accident when I was 8 years old, and so when you're in the hospital, she was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. So when I was there, 8 years old, like I would just be with my mom in her hospital room, and we would watch Conan O'Brien because that's the only thing that was on that late, or Whose Line Is It Anyway? And it was just the funniest thing. So for me, the funniest bit that Conan's ever done is Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. When I was a kid, I thought it was the funniest thing because you just have this little like dog puppet with a cigar in his mouth, just going around and just shit talking people. It's great.
I had no idea that was him.
Yeah, that started off on the Conan show.
Wait, my
on,
favorite
Late Night with Conan
Yeah,
O'Brien.
my favorite. Wait, what's the dog's name?
Triumph.
Triumph. My favorite Triumph skill was when he just went on the line for Star Wars Episode 1 and just made fun of all the nerds there. I was like, damn. I was like, I would be there. You'd make fun of me.
Because my favorite thing is at the very end, he's there and it's some dude dressed up as Spock, and they're just walking, like flipping off the whole line. I want to rewatch that after the show.
And there was also like a magician there randomly with the McDouble or McChicken or something. I forget. It was super hilarious. But yeah.
So good. The random wizard.
Right? But yeah, what's it call it? Are you interested in watching Jackass, Gio?
Yeah, I'm down.
We should watch that sometime next week.
Let's do it. Let's set it up. Let's figure out a day. We can do Thursday? Because Friday we're shooting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This next Friday we are. Wait, have you guys seen our skit, Josh and Jennifer, with we recreate Star Wars Episode 3?
I saw what you guys put on Instagram. Like I think was it last week or the week before? Do you guys put stuff anywhere else or?
It's on YouTube, I think. Yeah, no, it is on YouTube.
Okay.
But
I'll have to check it out. I didn't know that it was on YouTube.
yeah, we're trying to have like a skit, like one skit a month, and we're gonna be filming this month's next Friday. And so that'd be interesting.
So cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Honestly, I've been like really off the radar ever since I've had my Instagram ban. I mean, leading up to it, like I think I had it activated for up until yesterday. I think is the first time I actually deactivated it, but I've been trying to stay away from it just because sometimes it takes over. I feel like the first thing I do when I wake up is check social media. So I'm trying to reel back on that.
Let's talk about what you just said. You got banned from Instagram?
Yeah, I was
I'm having an Instagram ban.
Oh.
So
I was like,
you posted something and they were like, no, we're kicking you off.
You know me, I'm just a little too risque.
All right, let's talk about the major topic in the room. What is your beef, Jennifer? Let's talk about the topic.
Well, we know the type of audience that likes Bunny Girl Senpai.
We have a we have a pretty diverse crowd of people of like anime fans, and then there's people who like anime but don't like the same anime that I like, and we call those people jive turkeys. Um, we have people who don't like anime who like video games and movies. So we have a pretty diverse crowd here. But what is your beef? I know you like anime, Jen. What is your beef with Bunny Girl Senpai? Because hear me out.
I have no beef. Like you like it, and that's awesome. I just didn't like it. It to me, it was boring. It like the characters were like I literally did not like any part of it. And like I said, I'll give it. Maybe my opinions are a little rushed because I go based off of like the first episode, and it was just not my jam.
So it's boring.
No,
I'm not gonna check it out then.
Let me give you a challenge.
Okay.
Watch 3 episodes, and if you don't feel it from there, then I'll just be like, all right, I'll leave you all alone on it.
Well, I know Joshua, didn't you watch like?
I watched it. It was like I was watching it, and I think she actually watched the first 3 episodes, and then was like, "All right, you can watch this on your own." Because like when we'll watch the show, she'll be like, "Okay, don't start the next episode until like she's ready to watch it."
Mm-hmm.
But with that one, she was like, "I was like, okay, we're gonna watch another one." She's like, "Yeah, you can go ahead and watch it by yourself." Like,
what did you think of it, Josh?
I liked it. I thought it was good, but like,
wait, have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't seen the movie.
Oh god, dude, the movie. Fucking crazy. I refuse to watch Attack on Titan Zombie Bait. Leave me alone.
Oh my gosh.
Wait,
Attack
why?
on Titan. No, you have to.
Why do you refuse?
Because I don't like
It's
shows that
popular.
have too much.
It's
I don't
popular.
like shows that use death as a crutch in their storytelling.
Let me just say, well, are you ever gonna watch it, or is it okay for me to like put some spoilers out there?
I don't care.
Okay, let me just say I was such Team Aaron like till I die up until this past episode. This past episode just blew my mind as far as what Aaron, like the hatred, the pure hatred he has. It was just like,
No manga
what?
spoilers. Okay, no, it's only anime, right?
I'm sorry?
Oh, you're
only
talking
watching
about the
anime,
anime,
right?
right?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
I mean, I know the ending just because TikTok spoiled everything for me with when the last chapter came out. But yeah, this is only based off the anime.
Okay. I still need to watch season 4.
Oh,
Okay, so
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm gonna forget.
Nice Samantha Chess says, I did think Bunny Senpai was like slow, but then you get to a certain plot point, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. See, I think everyone, when they see that show, they think it's something, but it's actually not.
What is that something, Gio?
I think it's that you think it's like something kind of etchy because you see a girl in a bunny girl costume, but then it's actually really like heartfelt, and like it talks a lot about like being a teenager and the pressures of society and depression and bullying and what that shit can do to you.
Yeah. We started, what was the name of the other one that we started?
oh, I forget. But you actually put it up on Crunchyroll. It's the one with the
It's
guy.
like Something My Darling.
Oh yes.
Have you seen it?
My darling dress up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't watch I haven't watched the anime, but I've read the manga.
Mm.
And I really enjoy that one too, because it is talking about like someone who really like how something so shit almost fell. Something so small to one person, like, a girl from your childhood, like as a kid, like saying like, ew, like you like dolls, that's gross, you're a boy. And how even like 10 years down the line that it could still be like traumatic for you. I really like that show or that series.
And see, that has, I feel like, a similar vibe of anime where it's kind of like etchy, but I liked it because the first episode was just so engaging. And I think that's what it is like, if you can engage me within the 26 minutes that you have, I'm gonna be in for the ride. And like, so even if like half the time you just see like fan service, like it has a good, I guess what the same point you're making, where maybe Bunny Girl Senpai does have that themes. I just couldn't get through like the first 3 episodes enough to actually get to that part.
I'm telling you, 3 episodes is all you need. By the 3rd episode, you'd be like, "Damn, Gio was right. Trust me."
She's like a first 3 minutes need to pull her in. She's not gonna watch it. There's like an endless queue of like started episode 1s and then being like, nah, on to the next. I'm like,
Oh
okay,
my
well,
goodness.
I'll have to watch
You're the
that.
worst, Jen.
The thing is that I give every anime the benefit of the, or any just show or anything, the benefit of the doubt. So I do watch like the first 3 episodes of everything, and then it just doesn't get to me. Like I don't know, and then I stop. But yeah, like he said, I do have like a queue of a whole slew of anime that I've just given up on. I think another thing that also, maybe this is like a character flaw of mine, but if the artwork doesn't appeal to me enough, I will never watch it. So for example, I've never seen One Piece because I think that
Are you fucking serious?
it's terrible, terrible artwork.
Wow! Wow! Who was it in chat that said Gio immediately regrets this decision? Because they're spot on right now. Look at these are all my these are for the most part all my One Piece figures. I have a Boa Hancock. I have a Nico Robin. I have a Carrot. I have a Hiyori. I have a more Nico Robins, but still, three shots to the kettle one. Hold on, hold the fuck on. Where is? Okay, let me get on Twitch real quick.
He's abusing his powers.
Twitch. I can't believe I'm seeing this. I can't believe I'm seeing this right now.
Stay talking trash. Gio won't watch an anime unless it has 5 over 5 syllables. My dry cleaner started his cat. Gio, 5 out of 5. One piece of trash. And now
how do I ban him? Oh, time out. There we go.
Just cut him out. You shouldn't ban him. We don't ban people here unless you're like very, very rude and inappropriate.
It's true. But I will time you out for some dumbass stuff. Get out of here.
I like how you did it for an hour. What the heck? Why?
Gio, give us a handover when you're done talking about Attack on Titan.
I already did.
We're done.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I was waving both hands.
Hold on. Oh, let me throw on another one for you. Have you watched Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid?
Wait. Is that the one with the girl with the pigtails?
Pigtails. Yes.
Oh, no. That's the one with the something about like don't hit on a girl in a cave, I think.
How many?
Never mind.
Oh, you're thinking of Dan Machi. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Yes, there we go.
No, the Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, I think the animation's really well done in that one, and
8 syllables.
I really enjoyed it. It's very cute and heartfelt.
Yeah, I still want to watch Belle.
Oh,
Ooh, that's a good one.
yo, yeah.
We let it slip.
I don't even watch anime, but that was good.
It's not that we let it slip. He had COVID.
Oh yeah.
Wait, who had COVID? Yes, everything's always Josh's fault.
Like 2 weeks ago. She had to like work from home for like 2 weeks, and she's like, "I had to do this because of you." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry."
Funny.
No, but yeah, like we definitely wanted to go watch it, but he was sick, so we couldn't go to the theater. Like we had a quarantine, and then I don't know, is it still in theater?
I think so.
Okay,
I don't know.
maybe we have to go watch it.
Definitely worth a watch.
But yeah, we heard like great things, obviously, about it, and it's been on my like to-do list. So we just haven't been able to do it yet.
You know what I've been watching? Actually, I watched 4 episodes, and I'm gonna keep watching it. Ranking of Kings.
What's
I don't know what that is.
So it's about this boy. His name is Boji. He's the first
Boji.
born son of the king, but he is deaf and mute. But so no one thinks that he could ever become king, right? And it's got almost like a Game of Thrones style, like where you have all these different like players, like where some are trying to push Boji towards the throne, and some are trying to push his brother towards the throne, and like there's other like kind of supernatural forces at work. but the animation style is a little Ghibli-ish, if I would say.
Okay.
And there is a little bit of a supernatural element to it, where you have these different races, like you have demons, you have orcs, you have the Shadow Clan, and it's very heartfelt, because like you see like this kid Boji, who he just looks like really like, happy go lucky, but like he's aware of like what people say about him, of like that he can't be king and he'll never be a great king because of you know of his disability, and it's really good, really good.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of what else have we watched as far as anime. Honestly, like I haven't been watching. I've been actually reading a lot of books right now. So,
He's been watching Demon Slayer. I mean,
I need to
oh
start.
yeah.
I need to start that.
we were watching like last season, I guess, like with Tokyo Revengers, and then what was that other one that I liked a lot? You're like kind of like, senpai.
My Rent a Girlfriend.
No, there's another one too.
Yo, we talking about Rent a Girlfriend?
You shouldn't have said those
Yeah,
words.
I actually started getting the manga like afterwards. She was judging me because she's like, "You're not going to start from the first." Because I just picked up, like, I went to the books, to Barnes and Nobles, and like I was looking, and I'm like trying to figure out where the show left off. I was like, I'll just start reading from where the show left off at. And she was like, "You have to get
Good
the
job.
first one and read upward." And I'm like, "Dude, I just want to pick up where the show left off at."
Yeah.
About Rent a Girlfriend, and why it is the Catcher in the Rye of our generation.
The Cats of the Rye of our generation.
Oh, I got another one.
It's a good show.
It's a great show. It's an amazing show. Look,
Figures. I need to go
my
grab
favorite
one.
one. You know what? I think I'm just, every time for the show, I'm just gonna have waifu statues up like this.
All right. So, what's your waifu of the week, Gio?
Waifu of the week? Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Did he see how
Actually,
he
you
got
know what?
excited for that skit that didn't even exist until now?
I got a Nendroid. Y'all, you see my Nendroids, right?
Yeah. Here's my Nerdroid. Yeah.
So I actually talked, two of my friends, Chewy and Michaela. I don't know if they're watching. Chewy sometimes watches, but they're getting married this year, and I'm doing their ceremony. So, like, basically, Chewy was like, "Are we gonna pay Gio?" And Michaela was like, "No, we're gonna feed him." And I was like, fuck you are. Like, I was gonna get that regardless. And then Chewy was like, "Well, how much do you want to get paid?" I was like, "Buy me an anime figure." He's like, "All right, which one?" And he's like, "Anything under." I was like, at first, I was like 100. I was like, "No, wait, you want me to do in Spanish too, so 200." And so I negotiated getting a My Sakurajima Nendroid from them in exchange for my wedding services, and it was worth it, because Nendroids are expensive if they're like not running. If like they've sold out of that run and they're not making that run anymore, and they're like limited, some of them can get so pricey.
Over
Holy
100
shit.
on average.
100, 200. Like I've seen some for like 300-400. So yeah.
So then here's my, I guess, isn't it called husbando?
Mondo.
Like, yeah. So there's this guy. I don't know if ever watched this anime.
Hold on. Is he? Who is he from?
The Billionaire Detective.
The Billionaire Detective.
I think that's honestly, I'm really bad with a lot of anime names.
Okay.
And then Joshua just got me this guy.
Oh, Kenshin Himura.
I've seen that.
Yes.
On the website.
I love Kenshin. Hands down, one of my top anime / mangas. I mean, even
heard about
though,
Have you heard about the creator?
I try not to talk about that.
It's okay, because I know someone who
I don't know
loves the
anything.
show
What
too,
happened?
but they didn't know.
What's the creator do?
Yeah.
What's the
You
creator
gonna
do?
spoil it for them?
Is it like a
He got
spoiler?
caught. He got caught with a lot of things involving children.
which is so disheartening because it's something that I love. Like the manga and the anime, I just love them so much. So when I found out that happened, yeah, I just try not to discuss it because it's so much of my childhood. Like Kenshin, I would watch it with my brother. My brother's 12 years older than me. I'm like the youngest. And he's like super nerdy. He's the one who got me into like anime and like anything like Star Wars and stuff like that. And so he would buy the DVDs whenever they came out and we would watch Kenshin together. And so when I found out about that, I was like, okay, I'm just going to just push it over here.
Yeah. I mean, but then also at the same time, you can also say that like when someone when someone makes a property and it's puts out into the world, you could argue that it belongs more to the fans now than it does the creator.
That's true, for sure. Yeah.
So like with Harry Potter, right? Like all the stuff that J.K. Rowling said, and like for a lot of people, like Harry Potter was their childhood, and for them being like seeing what J.K. Rowling has said, it's disheartening. And some people abandon it, but then some people are like, you know what? Like, no, we still love Harry Potter. We're just gonna try our best to not support her, but we still like it belongs to us now.
For sure. Yeah. And that's a great spin on it because it makes me feel better. And that's what I was telling Joshua when I found out about it. I was like, you know what? It's Kenshin is part of my childhood, and what makes it so great is not the character. I mean, the author, the mangaka who made it, but what it means to me because of the story that it tells.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then here I have Gojo.
From
Jujutsu Kaisen. I actually have a Gojo tattoo. Don't judge
really?
me.
Yeah, a real one.
I can't show you because
within 1 year she got a Gojo tattoo, she got a Tomioka tattoo, and then a Levi tattoo,
and a Sailor Moon tattoo.
Nice.
Yeah, Jay doesn't have any anime tattoos. He's a fake anime fan.
I don't have any tattoos because I don't know what I'd want to get.
Just get the whole Bunny Girl Senpai on your back.
Josh looks like Roshi. Hella funny.
All right.
But right. I guess we should I guess we can wrap up this post show for today. And I want to say thanks again to Josh and Jen for joining us on this post show and for filling in last minute. And if you guys like what we do here, well, let me find my script. Give us a follow on our Instagram, Twitter, and you can support us on Patreon. We're at 3 tiers. 3 will get you a roll credit at the end of the show, and $5 will let you submit any topic you want. And $10 you can sponsor us by plugging anything you want. That could be your socials, product, or business page, or whatever. But the best way to support us is by participating in chat, like 3 shots to the cuddle one. And then
not like him, but participating.
And then for those people tuning in live, you guys are getting exclusive stuff because this stuff, this post show will not appear on the podcast that is on Spotify and Stitcher and soon to be iTunes and Google Music. And I don't know about Amazon. I don't think I'm gonna do that. But yeah. So till then, thank you guys for joining us. And I'm the guy in the back, Mikey, along with
your boy Geo Huey Flow
and
Josh
and Jen.
And we will see you guys next week at 11 a.m. PST. Until then, see you later.
Later.
Bye.